Hello and welcome to episode 14 of Giant Mess. I'm your host, Neal Lynch. I am a giant mess. I'm a Giants and Mets fan who loves movies, comedies, TV, and a whole lot more. On this week's episode, we're going to talk about my trip to Salem, Massachusetts to do the Hocus Pocus tour and see what all this witchcraft is about. We'll also talk about Mr. Robot's final season through the first 3 episodes, the premiere of Watchmen on HBO. We'll also talk about the Mets prospects to expect in 2020. I think there's 3 or 4 that might get the call up to the big show. How will they make an impact? Will they make an impact? And then we'll finish up with the Giants' Week 7 loss to the Cardinals. All hope is lost. It's the doomsday scenario, folks. We're headed towards a pit of despair. But we'll also take a look at what they need to do to make the playoffs. Yeah, there's a bright side to everything. Let's look at the silver lining. All right, so let's get started. This past weekend, we took a trip. We drove up to Salem, Massachusetts. It's the home of the Sanderson sisters. And if you don't know that name, well, then you haven't seen or heard of Hocus Pocus, the movie that came out in 1993, starring Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy Najimy. I think Charles Rocket might also have been in there at some point. But classic Halloween movie. My wife and her sister are humongous fans. We purchased Hocus Pocus on every possible platform. It's available everywhere, and we purchased it everywhere. And so we decided to take a trip up there to see what it's all about. They had a Hocus Pocus tour, and the Hocus Pocus movie was set in Salem, Massachusetts, and it was mostly shot and produced in Salem, Massachusetts. And I've now set the record for saying Salem, Massachusetts. I think the record was 5. I've now hit it. So if you had the over, congratulations. The payout is huge. So they're excited. They're excited. And it's like, I've seen the movie, and we actually rewatched the movie the night before because I'm like, I don't want to be that guy, that is wearing, my wife bought shirts. She bought shirts. And there was one that says like squad goals. And it has like the 3 silhouettes of the 3 Sanderson sisters. And that was going to be what Brielle, our daughter, wore. And then, Cass had like squad or something like that. It was like the Sanderson sisters. And she bought me a t-shirt that said, I lit the black flame candle. Okay. Pretty decent shirt. I don't mind wearing it. So I throw that on. But I'm like, if I'm going to wear this, I need a fresh rewatch. It's been a while. It's been a year. We usually watch it at least once or a million times during Halloween season. So I need to catch up on things so that if people start peppering me with lines from the movie, I got this. I can write back at them. Just a real fresh line right back at them. Oh, you're going to say that? Well, I got this. So we did the rewatch Thursday night. And then my wife decides that we are going to leave this house. We're going to get up at like 5 or 6 in the morning. We're going to leave this house at 6 or 7 in the morning because she doesn't want to get there too late and miss everything. So we leave here at around 7 in the morning. The baby is puking. I mean, barfing. Not like, oh, that's a cute little spit up you got there on your chinny chin. Nope. I'm talking about like projectile vomiting, like fire hose. It's all coming out. Me senior year in college, basically from start to finish, just like a whale's blowhole. Just like it's a fire hydrant has become unhinged. And, we get in the car and we think, oh, she's got it all out of her system. It's all good. And she just starts vomiting more and more and more. So the whole car just reeks of vomit for what, the 4-hour drive, 4.5-hour drive. We hit traffic a couple times, but we're not staying in Salem. And I was like, wait, so we're not staying in Salem, where are we staying? And she's like, yeah, it was way too expensive to stay in downtown Salem. They were charging like out the ass. So we're going to stay in a Holiday Inn and Suites in Peabody. Now, Peabody is one of my favorite Massachusetts towns to say because it's so many syllables jam-packed into such a short time frame. Peabody. And that you don't say Peabody. because I think I made that mistake once, and my Massachusetts friends were like, "Nah, you get it. You get a knife for that. You get a knife in the gut if you say it like that. It's Peabody, not Peabody." So we got the hotel, pulled up, not realizing that after a while you kind of get used to the vomit smell. To be honest, it just you just acclimate. That's why humans are the best, because we know how to adjust on the fly. And after a while, when you've been sitting and stewing in vom sauce for that long, you just get used to it. And so we pulled up, and then, we put down we try to just crack the windows a little bit just to let that seep out. But like, as soon as we opened the door, it was like, the mystery machine van from Scooby-Doo with all the smoke pouring out. Instead of smoke, it was just like green fumes from vomit. That's essentially, what it was in a nutshell. And so we get into the hotel, and I'm like tired because I went to bed late like an idiot, and we got up early, and then I had to drive. I didn't get to sleep. And so I get the folio or whatever, the charges from the front desk clerk. And he's like, all right, it's going to be $217 for Friday night and $255 for Saturday night. And I'm sitting there going, oh my God. It's that expensive. This place better have like a masseuse or something. Like, this can't be right. I mean, I know you get a pool. I think you have a gym, maybe a business center. I get it. But like, come on, guy. We're half an hour away from Salem. How is this possible? And he's like, yeah, you just, it's really, this is the worst time of the year in terms of pricing for you. You picked the worst possible time. It's like, all right. Thanks. Appreciate that. But, they can get away with it, I guess. But it seems excessive. $250 freaking for a very small room that said it had 2 queen beds. It was 2 full beds. No refrigerator. We had to call down to get a mini fridge, a very small bathroom. And like, that's all the amenities you get. All ice machines were down, out of order. There might have been a Pokemon convention in town, but there were a lot of other people that were there for the Salem experience, dressed up in their goth garb, witches and whatnot, and the Hocus Pocus fan base doing their thing. So we get there, and the baby's like in bad shape, and I can't. What's worse? Okay, this is like, would you rather? Would you rather go out, drive in an Uber or in our car, have the baby vomit more in the Uber or in the car? The Uber is going to come with a hefty cleaning fee. I think $75 is bare minimum. And then she's going to vomit all in the car on the way there, and then she's going to vomit all over the streets of Salem. People think we have a demon baby. Like, you got, like, what is it, exorcism baby over here? Rosemary's Baby? I don't know. Did Rosemary's Baby vomit? I don't know. I didn't watch the movie. But there's also like, people are going to look and be like, oh my God, I can't believe they brought the baby, the barfing baby. And it's like, all right, I'm just going to stay here with the baby in the hotel. You two, your sisters, you love the Sanderson sisters. This is your trip. You go do your thing, and I'll stick here. And I tell you, my wife repeatedly was saying, kids love hotel rooms. Kids love hotels. She couldn't stop saying that. And it's like, well, you didn't have to stay in the hotel room with the baby for hours on end, where it's like she's a ticking time bomb. You don't know what's going to happen. Unpredictable as fuck. She could be, it's like, and I talk to my mom, which that's always a mistake, because it's like, hey, Mom, here's a sitch. What do I do? And she's just like, oh, well, she'll probably progress on to diarrhea next, so look out for that. And it's like, oh, I'm looking forward to it. Like, what do I do? Like, the vomit's like, all right, I guess I can handle this, just try and figure it out. But so Cass and Lynn's go into Salem to do their thing, expecting a crowd, expecting, to be mobbed and needing to get there early because who knows how long the lines are going to be and whatnot. And it turns out, no one was out hanging out and doing that much on a Friday during the day in Salem. Meanwhile, I'm in the hotel room, cooped up with the baby, and I'm just feeding her saltine crackers. and it's like helping the baby, but also it's doing damage to the hotel room. I mean, it's just, there's no like neat, clean way to feed saltine crackers to a baby. It just doesn't exist. So every time, like, I'm trying to snap it off a little bit and then hold it out in my hand so she can pick it up and put it in her mouth. She's getting frustrated with that. So then it turns into me kind of sticking it out and like her taking a bite from, you know, the whole cracker, and then that crumbles and goes on the floor. And then eventually it's just like, you know what, here's a cracker. And she takes it with her hand and goes off. And I'm just like, fuck it. I don't care. You know? I ended up ordering food from this place called Louie's Pizza and Roast Beef. And did not order pizza, nor did I order roast beef, which in hindsight, kind of an error on my part, I guess. If you're going to name your restaurant after 2 food items, you got to order one of the food items. You got to see what that's all about. Instead, I ordered a steak bomb and jalapeno poppers. Now, why jalapeno poppers? The steak bomb was delicious, by the way. I think that's a New England thing. I don't remember that being a New England thing when we lived in New England. I lived in New England 5-6 years. And I don't remember hearing about that at all. Steak bomb. Very interesting. But jalapeno poppers, people are always asking me like, what's your, like, who, why, huh? And I just love them. You know, I've loved them since 11, 12 years old. And they are probably one of the most hit or miss items you can ever order. It's never consistent. You never know what you're going to get. It's a wild card. It's the wild card of fried food appetizers. It could be delicious. It could be frozen in the middle because they went cheap, or it could be an absolute gourmet. And these were pretty good. I'm not going to lie. The breading that they used was nice. It wasn't too much. And I guess the cheese that they used was nice. The jalapenos, people like, it's crazy that people just, you can't half-ass the jalapeno. Got to have the good jalapeno. But the girls come back. I watched a ton of movies over the course of this time. I mean, I you know, in terms of parenting, like, I'm gonna, if anyone sees any of my parenting live or on recording, I'm going to jail, because I'm a very lazy parent. I'm not a helicopter dad. I mean, if I see danger, I'm going to, you know, intervene for sure. But my parenting in this hotel room with a sick baby, a very small hotel room with a sick baby, was just like, here's some crackers. I'm going to watch some movies. You know, that's about it. I don't know what else we can do, because I don't know if you're carrying like some kind of virus. It's like, I'm already toast, but I don't want to, you know, ruin the lives of hundreds of others. And of course, the sisters come back. The Sanderson sisters come back from their trip to Salem, and they give the bottle of baby milk. And at this point, we weren't sure what the cause of the situation was. We're like, all right, well, maybe she's just car sick, you know, and it's the fact that she's facing backwards in the car. And, you know, my niece had the same issue in the car. And so you have to have the baby facing forward, and you have the iPad up so that she's looking up, and, you know, do all these things to avoid the car sickness. So they give her a bottle of milk, and she vomits all over the hotel room floor. I went hours, from noon to 6, something like that. I got a 6-hour span where I kept this baby in check. 0 bombs, 0 barfs, 0 pukes. And then you give her a bottle of milk, and blah, it's all over the place on the floor. What are you going to do? So now the hotel room stinks and reeks of puke, just like the car. So I'm like, you know, I got to get out of here. You know, you guys already had a late lunch or whatever, a big lunch, late lunch. I'll munch on whatever you ordered, your leftovers. And then I'm going to get some alcohol, because I need alcohol in my system. So, and the shit that sucks about this hotel in Peabody is that it's on a one-way highway. And like, if you want to go anywhere, it's not a 2-minute ride. It should be a 2-minute ride. Like, the liquor store is right down the street, that away. Problem is, the highway's going that away. So I have to go all the way up in order to do a little loop-de-loop up here, and come all the way down, do a little loop-de-loop down here, and then go back up to the liquor store. And guess what? Folks, the liquor store smells worse than the Vom Bomb car and the Vom Bomb hotel room. How does that happen? Clean it up. Get it together. Jesus Christ. If you're a place of business, it smells worse than a baby who's thrown up everywhere. I mean, you gotta, come on now. Put in a little effort. I know it's booze. You don't have to sell booze. Everyone wants booze, but just like make the experience a little bit more enjoyable. Don't make me regret buying booze. I ended up buying Narragansett Marzen Lager. It was like an Oktoberfest beer, which was really good, and an Angry Orchard Rosé for the ladies. Went back and we didn't even really drink them. It's just like everyone was so tired that it's like we're trying to watch the TV. We're all in the same room here. It's 2 beds. Sister-in-law on the one bed, me and Cass on a full bed together, and then the baby in a crib next to the TV. So we're like had to put up a barricade so that the glow from the TV doesn't like distract her and wake her up. And trying to watch TV or movies on mute, and it's just like, this is not enjoyable. Click, turn it off. The baby did not sleep at all because it's like, I'm not in my crib. I have some kind of stomach thing going on. And like, we're in this weird hotel room that now smells like my puke. So the baby didn't sleep and I could barely get up. So Cass it was up with her all night. And then I took her at sunrise and just walked her around the hotel for an hour or so, just like trying to get her, out of the room so that these 2 could sleep and enjoy their trip. And by the time we go down to the buffet and it's $11 buffet, which you can't beat that. All you can eat buffet. You can't beat that with a bat. $11. Yes, I'm all about it. The issue is I used to eat, and I'm going to come across the puss or whatever, wuss or wimp. I don't know. Whatever, dude. Whatever you want, whatever name you can drum up in your little noggin of yours to call me, fine. I don't eat pork anymore. I used to be a big pork guy. Bacon, ham, sausage. Give it all to me right now. But I've sworn it off ever since I learned that pigs are actually intelligent. Someone told me that, and I think it was maybe when I was visiting down in South Carolina, and one of my brother's wife had a pig named Silo or something like that, and they were like, "Oh yeah, they're super smart." I'm like, oh, so we're just killing smart animals. And then I got in my own brain. It's like, why? Well, the pigs that are up there in those silver trays with the lid, they're already dead. They're gone. So like, it's not, I'm not killing the pig. That's a smart pig, but like it's stupid logic. The rationale is all over the place. All right, I don't eat pork. It's not like if someone makes dinner and doesn't ask beforehand, hey, do you not eat pork? And then they make pork. I'm going to eat the pork. Sure. But like at the buffet, it's like, it's there. I have the option. If I don't eat it, no one feels disrespected. But at the same time, it's like I got that guilt thing going on where it's like I shouldn't eat pigs. Like if the less pig I eat, maybe the less pigs that will be killed. And that's the logic is all over the place. It's to make me feel better about my life, which I will never feel better about my life. That's a given. Okay, we know that. So now I'm thinking, well, how come we don't eat smart animals, but we can just eat, like I can eat dumb animals till the cows come home. Pun intended, dude. Like I can eat cow and chicken because they're stupid. Like, how does that make sense? So it's like if we get enslaved and we're captured and harvested, like the dumb people are getting eaten and the smart ones are being saved. I don't know. It just, the logic is all over the place. And, it's like, and it's Saturday morning. Relax, Neal. Relax your brain a little bit. Just coast for a little bit. You don't have to get inside your head this much this early on a weekend. Unbelievable. But of course, Cassie forgot her laptop charger again. So I had to run out and get the laptop charger. And that's a half hour to an hour experience, even though the fucking Staples is right down the street, because I had to go all the way down that way and then loop-de-loop and go all the way down this way and then loop-de-loop and come back, because this hotel is situated in the worst possible place. Everything along that friggin' strip. Like, what is the deal there? You think Jersey's bad? Christ. Also, like, to have to do work when you told people at work that, like, you were going away. Hey, I'm going on a little vacay, a little mini vacay. We're going away. Like, can this fucking wait, dude? Is unreal. The people who are up your ass on a Saturday morning about a document that you've already sent once, like, find a life. Go on a little extravaganza, like whatever the fuck it's called. Oh my God. Off the rails. Escapade? Nope. That's not the word. You know what I mean? So we end up driving to Salem, but now it's like 1 something. And, you know, the Cass and Lynn's think, oh, it's going to be the same as it was on Friday. Like, it's not going to be that big of a deal. So we drive to where they shot, where Max and Danny's house is in Salem, which is not in downtown Salem. It's kind of a little bit of ways. And we drive there to take a picture because it's, you know, when in Rome. And there's a line. There's like a legit big time, like Shake Shack Starbucks line going down the street for people taking pictures. And it's like, oh, we're not alone here in our thought process. Like, this is a thing that everyone does. So I wait in the car with the baby. They do their thing, get in the car. We drive to downtown Salem, and I don't think I've ever been to downtown Salem before. I'll put that out there. 99.99% sure. And we drive in and it's gridlock. It's just gridlock. There's people everywhere, cars everywhere. There's very limited signage about where to go, where to park, what to do. Google Maps doesn't realize that multiple streets are barricaded. And so everywhere I want to go, I cannot go. So it took us like an hour and a half just to find a fucking parking spot in a garage. So by the time we get down to the ground level again, after parking the garage, you know, it's now like 3 something. And we're hungry. I'm starving. I know that. And so now we're just like, we're in that hangry mood, the cranky, hungry mood where it's just like, I need something, just something. It's like, you know, normally you get a little picky about it. You're like, well, we should do local cuisine. We should do something that's special to the area. Something that's like, and then it gets to the point where you're just like, I'll take a Snickers. Yeah. Snickers. You nailed it. This is why you have the commercials. I will take a Snickers at this point because I just need something in my stomach. I can only eat my feelings for so long. So, and walking around with a stroller with a baby in it. I mean, in that crowd, I don't know how I was able to maneuver through it and get through it all, because there are people there who are not part of a family experience, who are not like completely all there, who are like, we're gonna booze and like get our witch on. And people don't see strollers because, you know, you're looking up. It's understandable. You're moving, you're grooving, you're feeling yourself, and then like all of a sudden your knee hits into a stroller. It's like, you know, it's a Debbie Downer. It's a buzzkill. And of course I'm the guy that they have to look at like, hey man. And it's like, what do you want me to do? Like, you know? So the stroller in a crowd, top 5 to 10 fears in my life. Like I don't think I'm claustrophobic per se, but like, I don't need to be in a tight, crowded space for longer than 2 minutes. If it's like, hey, 2 to 5 minutes, you're good. You get beyond that, it's just like I start doing like Luda, just throw them bows. You know, it's just like I can't be cramped like this anymore. And then especially with a stroller, like with the stroller, people just don't give a shit. With the baby in it, maybe they'll give it a little bit of a shit. And that's where you're like, oh, for the baby's sake, could you please just move? Thank you. But when Cass, or my wife, takes the baby out of the stroller, and it's like, well, we still have to take the stroller with us. So I'm going to like carry the stroller. So I still have to push the stroller, but there's not a baby in it. That's when people lose their shit. That's when people are like, no Thank you. No, not going to happen. No excuses. This cannot happen. They look at you like you're a crazy person, especially if you're a dude. Because like, you know, stereotype, gender norm, whatever bullshit. So like people look in your babyless stroller and they're like, what are you, who is this? Oh, you're taking your ghost baby for a stroll. Very funny. You and your ghost baby. I mean, Halloween too. Like that plays into it as well. Salem, Massachusetts, Halloween, and I got like a ghost baby in a stroller. You know, it's just pandemonium. And of course, there was a guy who like there's always like anytime there's an event, there was always that one guy or gal who's got to just be rain on the fucking parade. Like, you know, when we went to the Ohio State game, Penn State game, a year or two ago, maybe in Ohio, there was like I don't know, maybe a Black Lives Matter thing, protest going on where people were laying like in the middle of the sidewalk on the street where people were just trying to get by and do their thing and have fun at a fucking college football game, a tailgate. And we got to have a fucking protest about like, how does this relate to this? What are you talking about? Do this at the fucking police station, for crying out loud. Why are you doing this at the fucking Ohio State football game? Makes no sense. And you're causing like, and I get it. Protests are supposed to get awareness. And like, if this is the big event in Columbus, Ohio, then I guess you got to saddle up and lay down on a fucking ground and pretend you're dead. I get it. But like, did you change my mind on anything? No, you just pissed me off. And like this guy in Salem, Massachusetts, he comes in the middle of the busiest intersection of downtown Salem, sets up his huge ass placard sign billboard, whatever, that says, you know, God hates queers or whatever, and basically chastising us for celebrating Halloween, which, dude, it's been going on for a long time. Like, what is your MO right now? What the hell is your end game? You're going to get Halloween canceled? You're going to feel like a fucking dick if you get Halloween canceled. You're the guy that got Halloween canceled in Salem, Massachusetts. Congratulations. Your tombstone will be decorated for years with floral whatever. I mean, come on. And I just ignore it because it's just like, you know, the best possible thing you can do is just ignore it. And that's what I do. I just walk right past it. But of course, everyone can't do that. They see it and they get triggered and they have to go and approach the guy and yell at him. And it's like, what is this accomplishing? I mean, this is like America, like the embodiment of America right here, right now, currently, is just like people yelling at each other that are not going to change their minds. What's going on? So we go to the Derby because it looks like a large place that can accommodate us and won't be cramped and loud and the baby can do whatever. And they tell us a 40-minute wait. And we're like, whoa, that's a lot. So we're like, we'll put our name in, but like, we'll probably get some food at somewhere else. Nope. Couldn't get food anywhere. Every single place was just backed up. And just long ass wait to get down and sit down. And like even the food tents were just like crowded and like no one's serving food in a tent anymore. I don't know how that happened. And it got to the point where like, well, should we have Moroccan like or Indian cuisine? It's like, well, am I that hungry? Like, is this what we're going to do? We're going to have Indian or Moroccan in Salem, Massachusetts. Like, is that really what we're here for? So we walk around for 40 minutes, can't find food. And we go back, you know, because it's time's up, you know, hashtag me too. And, you know, they're not even close to sitting us. And we end up going to some place that's like the outside area no one is sitting in. And they tell us an hour or two wait. And we're like, what is happening? Like, are there ghosts? Paranormal activity out in your patio right now, dining on what God knows what. So an hour and 25 minutes from the time we put our name in, they finally sit us. And we sit down and Cass and Lynn's wife, sister-in-law, don't eat. Like, just don't eat their food. And it's like, that was, in retrospect, that was the beginning of the end. Why do I say that? Because I've scarfed down my food. I wolfed it down. Chicken and waffles, it was great. I don't know who came up with chicken and waffles. It's an outrageous pairing, but it goes well together. I don't know who's the first guy who threw that together. He must have been like stoned. And I don't mean like he smoked up and got high. I mean like he must have been like in Salem. He would have been stoned or burned or hung for like witchcraft. Because like, who does that? Chicken and waffles. It's no. But like, I love that it's hot sauce is a side, applesauce is a side, syrup is a side. It's just like Neal's hodgepodge of absurd food pairings. Scarf that down, had a couple of very high ABV beers. Cause at that point it's like, I'm starving. I'm sober. I cannot take this crowd. I'm just going to get a little drunk. I'm just going to get a little drunk, get the buzz on so I can power through this trip. Ended up drinking my sister-in-law's drink because she has a very refined palate. She has very high standards in terms of taste. And so I don't. And so I'm a dumpster. And I was just like, I bet you $50 I can drink this in less than 30 seconds. And I did it in 10. It was just, I don't know what it was. I still don't know what it was to this day. It was supposed to be some kind of apple cider cocktail thing. And I just like a mind eraser. And did I erase my mind? No, not completely. But it took the edge off a little bit. But I didn't know what was coming down the pike. Oh boy. Because we left there and we go to Harrison's comic book store. And I'm in there and I'm buzzed and I'm like, I don't know. It takes me back to my high school days where it's like we would go to the mall and we would just hang out at like FYE, For Your Entertainment, which I guess is like a Poor Man's Strawberries, or it's like an electronic store, not necessarily Best Buy, but just has like CDs, DVDs, movie posters. So this took me back. It was a walk back memory lane. Nostalgia at the ass. And so I'm looking through movie posters and I see Elvira's movie Mayhem or something like that. Movie Mistress of the Evil, whatever. And her boobs are popping. And I'm like, and I show Cass and she's just like rolls her eyes. And I was like, can I have this? And like, no. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But like Elvira, dude, like when I was 8, popping boners left and right with Elvira. Just an outrageous character who turned me from a boy into a man. I mean, let's be honest. Elvira, shout out Elvira. Like that was her shtick, was like, she was funny too, I thought. But I mean, just the low cut, whoa, the chest, yikes, And yeah, I mean, I know if I have a son, like 8 years old comes around, like he's getting himself into something real sexy. So, but I ended up buying a Fight Club movie poster, Back to the Future movie poster, and Stranger Things movie poster. Now they're not big movie posters. And this is the thing that I kind of regret is like, it's $10 a pop. They're like it's like the size of maybe a little bit bigger than an envelope, like a manila envelope. I'm like, man, I really missed the boat on this. And now I'm thinking, wow, like if I ever got the the green light to decorate this place, it would be all movie posters. It would be all pop culture movie posters, like super big, original, unique movie posters, not the ones that they put out originally, although those can be cool sometimes, but like the remixes, like an artist takes a stab at it. And that's what these three were. So we drive back to the hotel, and this is where it was the opening scene of a zombie movie. Essentially, it was Dawn of the Dead. The remake, the one that came in 2005, where they go to the mall. It's the girl from Go, Bing Rames, and a couple other people. But it was the opening scene of that movie. And I guess the opening scene of most zombie movies, where it's just like, you don't really know what's going on at first. And you're like, this is weird. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, everyone's a zombie and we're fucked. And that's exactly what would happen when we got back to our hotel room Saturday night, because it was like, Cassie was like, I'm a little buzzed. I got the Narragansett and I'm down in Gansets and I'm watching a movie on mute because the baby's trying to sleep. And Cassie's like, my wife's like, ooh, my stomach is kind of gurgling. And then Lindsay's like, yeah, I don't feel so good either. And I'm just sitting there like, movies. And then they just started throwing up. They just took turns throwing up in the bathroom. Extended stay at the Holiday Inn Suites bathroom, throwing up. And I thought, wow, I can't believe I got out of this scot-free. That's amazing. And then Sunday hit. The baby actually slept the night, and Sunday hit, and it was pure hell on earth. Hell on earth is the only way I can describe it, because we have to pack all our shit, try and clean this room a little bit so they don't like hit us with cleaning fees out the ass. And then we have to get all of us into the car that already smells and reeks of puke. When we're already puking, now we're all puking. It was just the baby at first. We're like, the baby's puking. It's a little disturbing, but as long as it's contained to the baby, nope, it is everybody. And we're supposed to see my grandmother, 90 plus years old. You know, she lives in Rhode Island. It's an hour away from Salem. We were going to pop in on Sunday so she could see her great granddaughter. And I couldn't do it. We couldn't do it. I mean, literally, we physically couldn't do it. You know, my grandmother's talking about all the food that she's going to get and all this stuff. And I'm just like, you need to cancel all that. Like, it's literally going to be me coming into the apartment with the baby. You kiss and hug the baby, even though you probably shouldn't. We'll take a photo op, PR, and then we're out of here. Less than an hour tops. And then I couldn't even do that. And it's a major disappointment. And she said that. It's one of the biggest disappointments she's ever had. Very disappointed. And you're like, oh, well, you know, I don't know what to tell you. Like, we don't want to infect you. You just got a pacemaker. Like, what? The death sentence. We can't have that. You're in a fragile state. We're in a fragile state. Let's just, when we're both in better spots, let's regroup. So we had to drive home, you know, 4 to 5 hours from Salem, Massachusetts with, we couldn't have the heat on. You know, it's 50 degrees out, but we couldn't have the heat on because we were all going through like hot flashes and then the chills, hot flashes and chills. So I got like, you know, Lynn's, my sister-in-law, telling me like, can you just put on the AC? And then I have like Cass, my wife, in the back, like, it's way too cold in here. I have the chills, pump the heat. And it's just like, guys, let's figure it out. I can't compartmentalize the car. That was a hellacious drive back. And then what happens? We get back 2:00 p.m. on a Sunday, and Cass and Lynn's go up and they sleep, and they're sleeping. They were sleeping in the car. They slept upstairs, and so I got to watch the baby, and I am dragging ass. I had an ass of a dragon. I mean, it was pure torture because we're talking about lazy parenting. I'm a lazy parent when I'm clean and healthy and sober and not sick. And then when I'm sick, it's like, can the baby actually take care of me? That would be great. So I was just like, all the parenting laws went out the window that day. So eventually I just kind of laid down and I was like, if I don't hear anything, that's bad. I get it. So if I don't hear anything, then that'll be a male alarm and I'll pop up. And eventually Lynn's came down and took care of Bree, which was nice because I get to nap for an hour. But hey, guess what happens? Everyone leaves Monday. I stay home with the child, Cass works from home because she doesn't want to infect her office. But I went to bed at like 8, 9 o'clock. I got like 12 hours of sleep on Sunday night. Thank God. Because it was a brutal weekend. Monday comes around. We're all here, Cass working from home. I'm here with the kid. Today, Cass goes back to work and I'm supposed to take the child to daycare. It's the process for trying to take a small one who cannot speak English yet and gathering all the shit and getting it all together and out the door to the daycare. It's become almost impossible now. Where are your shoes? Where are your socks? Where is your bottle? Where is this? Where is that? Where is this? Where is that? Where's this? Where's that? Where's that? Where's that? I mean, nothing is where it's supposed to be because this baby touches everything, picks up everything and just relocates it. And, as many times as I try asking her, hey, Bree, where did you put this? She just like looks at me like, you want me to help you look for it? Because I don't know a damn thing. And of course, today I looked for the keys for like half an hour, maybe hour and a half. And I'm like, I cannot believe I can't find the keys. Where are the keys? Did I leave the keys at the hotel room? I call the hotel, leave a message for lost and found. There's no way they know what I'm talking about. I'm like about to call the Derby, the restaurant we went to. I'm about to call Harrison's Comics. I'm about to call like all these places in Salem. And then like my wife's like, did you check the car? I was like, yeah, I checked the car. And of course I didn't check the car thoroughly, because then I go back out, I look, and of course the keys are in the passenger side door. What? Why are they there? And it's like, it's no one's fault. It's literally no one's fault. Maybe my fault, because it's like, you know, with these keyless fucking cars, they're you know, normally, hey, my other car, there's a key, ignition, you stick the key into the ignition to turn the car off, you turn the key from the ignition, you take the key out, you put it in your pocket, boom, you have the key. These keyless cars, you just have to have it on you somewhere in the vicinity, and you press a button. So then when you press the button to turn the car off, you're like, you're not thinking about keys. Keys are not on your mind, especially when you're all on your deathbed and just trying to get the fuck out of the car that smells like vomit. So it's like, all right, conundrum time. Do I just like, I mean, it's been fuck locksmiths, by the way. And I should have just stayed home with the kid. I get it. I should have stayed home again. And just had to, and, you know, and I love her, but it's like, I'm not feeling 100% here, and I can't give you all the attention and love that you need. I wish I could. I really wish I could. So the alternative is I break into my own car in my driveway, which I don't know, feels wrong. A screwdriver and a rod. It's like I could do it, but then the alarm's going off, and then I got people looking at me. How much could the locksmith possibly be? I Google it, and they're like, oh, $30 to $50. And I'm like, oh, it seems reasonable. That's fine. I'll take that hit. I'll take that L. I call up the locksmith. He says he'll be here in 35 minutes. Takes him a fucking hour and a half to get here. And he gets in, he unlocks the car in fucking 2 minutes. 2 minutes. He charges $147. Go fuck yourself. I mean, come on, dude. I need to send this tweet out. I had this percolate in my nog. Who makes more money per minute? Professional athlete, A-list actor, a fucking locksmith, and I guarantee you it's a locksmith. If you're a locksmith, I'm not gonna apologize. Go fuck yourself. And I almost want to start my own locksmith business and just undercut all you motherfuckers. And my business will go through the goddamn roof, and I'll put all you out of business. And as soon as all you locksmiths are gonna be out of business anyway. It's the future, dude. Technology. It's scary. I'm very scared of technology in the future. But if it means no more locksmiths, I'm all for it. Let the robot overlords enslave us, because I cannot stand locksmiths. 2 minutes and you're $147. I should have known, because every time I get a locksmith, the same thing happens. They come 2 seconds, it's done, and then I get raped for fucking $150. Sorry to use the R word, but it's just, and I've never been raped, so I shouldn't say that. But like you're screwing me, dude. That's my rant on locksmiths. And that's my trip to Salem, Massachusetts. Hell on earth for a Hocus Pocus store. I didn't even get to go and enjoy the witchy stuff. Like, yeah, I get to see a lot of people dressed up, and like there are a lot of decorations, and it was very festive environment. Yeah, great. But I didn't get to go into a witch museum or take a Hocus Pocus tour, whatever the fuck that is. Like, I didn't get to do a lot of the things you get to do in Salem. Would I go back? I don't know. I mean, that was a shit show. I think if I were like 21, 22 and I could just drink my dick off and just walk around, then maybe, yeah, okay. That's cool. I mean, we walked by a kid that was on his back getting tended to, at 3 p.m. So, I mean, yeah, I guess it's a good time if you can find a good spot and you don't mind just getting fucking bodied by everyone. But, family, maybe wait until your kid is like mobile and not whiny and like 8. Like tween to first grade, maybe second grade to tween. Bring your kids, but like, you know, bringing a baby is just like, ugh. I don't recommend it. And that's life. So, Jesus. Let's talk TV. I've now watched the first 3 episodes of the final season of Mr. Robot. That is confirmed. I confirmed that with myself on the interwebs. I know I had a really shitty recap in the last episode of the first episode. And, you know, going back through it, it's a lot to process. I'll say that, you know, Angela's death, which, you know, I mean, you know, spoiler, dude, you know, this is for people who have seen Mr. Robot. If you haven't seen Mr. Robot yet, and like you need me to convince you to watch Mr. Robot, that's bad news bears. So I'm talking to people who've seen it. Angela getting capped in episode 1. Holy shit. Okay. Totally forgot that she found out that this Price guy, Philip Price, is her dad, which I don't, it's still hard to process that. And Philip Price, her dad, is trying to tell her like, hey, Whiterose is maniac. Like she took advantage of you, to carry out these attacks. So yeah, you carried out her bidding. You did what she wanted to do. But now you just got to kind of swallow it. Okay. Swallow it. And Angel's like, no, screw that. Like, I'm getting revenge. She has something coming to her. And then it was like, he's like, yeah, you might want to take that back. And she's like, nope. And she immediately gets capped. It's like, okay. All right. Mm-hmm. And we don't really see Elliot process it. So it's like you see Darlene is just like a mess doing all kinds of drugs. And like Elliot has kind of taught himself to compartmentalize, which I've never been able to do. I think my wife is able to do it. And I'm just very jealous of how she can just compartmentalize. It's like everything with me just kind of bleeds into the next. It's just like osmosis out the ass with me. So what are you going to do? This Whiterose character is just like sinister as hell, you know, using Angela's mother's death to manipulate her to get to work for E-Corp, to carry through Dark Army's bidding, to take out to do the cyber bombing attacks. And it was all because Philip Price is trying to prevent Whiterose from taking her plan from Washington Township, where I guess Angela's stepdad, not biological father, was working and then got or was the mom working where? I don't know. But Price is trying to like block Whiterose from taking moving the Washington Township plant to the Congo. Why the Congo? I don't know. I mean, it's a cool sounding town. Great movie. I love the Congo movie when I was a kid, and I loved going to like Taco Bell or Burger King or whatever, and they had like the Congo souvenir cup. Wow. Yeah, so Angel's gone. Elliot's like, he's like not really, he wants to avenge Angel's death, and he's just like, all systems go. Like, I'm now incredibly focused, but I'm also blinded by rage, even though I'm not really showing it outwardly. I'm just going to go like full steam ahead to get my revenge on Whiterose, who sent him a picture of Angel's corpse. Yikes. And so he finds this lawyer, Freddy Lomax, played by Jake Busey, not Gary Busey, Gary Busey's son, Jake Busey, who is having a little bit of a renaissance. He was in like the last season of Stranger Things, and he was like played the dude. I would love to have like the Busey life, where it's just like you get to play these crazy, like eccentric characters all the time, and just make bank off that. Because I'm not profiting, I'm not monetizing my creepiness like I should. I see the Buseys and I'm like, I got to live that life. That's for me. I need to do that. But so Elliot hits up the lawyer for Whiterose, and he eventually caves and is like, because he's like a pedophile, I guess. Oh God. And Elliot gets him to spill the beans to a certain degree. Although he says he can protect him. The lawyer's like, no, you can't. And then he just like offs himself in the middle of Times Square or in 42nd Street, Grand Central, maybe. And so he does end up getting like a name or a lead that takes him to an apartment that ends up being like a honeypot apartment. It's a trap where he gets carried out and then he gets forcefully injected with heroin by that guy. I'm pretty sure who injects him with the heroin is Sam Esmail, which I thought was pretty cool. It's like you're killing your main character, you badass. My wife and I also talked about how Darlene looks an awful lot like Emmy Rossum. And then, of course, Emmy Rossum pops up in the show as a caroler. And apparently it's not the first time. It's like, I just love Easter eggs, dude. And then we also check in with Dom, the FBI agent who watched Irving take an axe to Santiago's chest. And she's all paranoid and sleep deprived and staying at her mom's house because she's in a tough spot. So you have Angela capped in the opening scene after that like very like hallucinogenic recap, and then you think that Elliot dies after the heroin overdose, but then Sam Esmail, you dirty dog. The credits roll for a little bit and then it's like comes right back. And Philip Price comes in and gives him some Narcan and he comes back to life. Which leads us to episode 2, titled Payment Inquired. So the first one was titled Unauthorized. Very, very befitting because Elliot is unauthorized. Episode 2 is Payment Required. And one of the best opening montages I've seen in a long time. You know, we've talked a lot about, you know, these recaps that we see for shows that have been off the air. And I completely forgot that Mr. Robot has been off the air for like 22 months. No, we haven't seen a new episode in 22 months, 2 years. So it's like, cut me some slack on the episode 1 recap last week. Like, dude, it's been 2 years. Haven't really kept up with it. I got other shit going on. But this opening montage, as much as we were like kind of like still lost after the recap in episode 1 to open the premiere, this opening montage was like, thank you so much. It was like Philip Price narrating everything that's happened over the last like 30 plus years. Basically, spanning Elliot's life. You know, just talking about the what's going on in terms of like global politics. Whiterose formed Deus. It's an investment group, world's wealthiest, most powerful men. And they have been profiting off of oil, private data, you know, creating wars here and there to accelerate the internet. And of course, it's all just being really controlled and manipulated by Whiterose, who's got this thing for the Congo. We still don't know where her pet project is or what her plan is, but it involves the Congo. Elliot and Darlene's mom passes, so they come together to take care of all the, you know, post-mortem type shit where you gotta like, is there a funeral? And, you know, they weren't really close with her. So it's like, you know, Darlene wants to feel something, but she's trying to force it. And Elliot's like, why are you trying to force it? Like, who cares? My favorite part of their little adventure in this episode, where they're trying to like hunt down a safety deposit box and clean up the mother's room, is when they're in the subway and they're just having it out. And then you hear from over Darlene's shoulder, sorry. And then they pan out to the wide shot and it's like the person dressed like Frosty the Snowman that just like offering his or her condolences and gets up and walks away. It's like, what does it all mean, Basil? So Elliot's like, oh, well, I think I figured it out. After, you know, talking with Philip Price and convincing him to set up this meeting with Deus like ASAP to tell them that he's resigning from the CEO of eCorp, that opportunity will allow Elliot and Mr. Robot to carry out their plan, which I need to pay more attention to the plan. I feel like they spend so much time doing other shit, like, back and forth, that the plan is mentioned like real quick, and you're like, oh, what? So, Elliot finally figures out that the contact that he needs to get in touch with is Susan Jacobs, the lawyer, who Darlene killed. So Darlene reveals that she killed the lawyer to Elliot, and it's like, crap. And then Darlene mentions Vera, the dangerous drug dealer who murdered Elliot's girlfriend, Shayla, in the first season. He's like back, and he's back in the New York groove. And Darlene says she told Elliot, and Elliot's like, no, you didn't. I don't remember that. And Mr. Robot doesn't remember that. So then you told a third person. So now this completely went over my head in episode 2. And I just cannot believe I don't know what the hell's going on with me when watching these shows, but like, is there a third personality? Is there a potential secret twin? There was like a flashback when Elliot was dying. You see your life flash before your eyes, and he had a moment where his mom mentions the other one. But like, I guess Darlene and Elliot were in the room when she mentions the other one. So now there's a third personality, potential secret twin. I don't know, dude. Does it mean like Darlene? No, Darlene's real. You start to like go out on weird tangents, like Darlene's not real. Darlene's a third personality. It's like, no, she's interacted with everyone else. So Darlene's guilt and conscience is catching up with her. And Elliot's just mostly shutting it out. They did have a cool moment, though, with the Walkman, where it's like they find the Walkman at the mom's place, and there's a tape inside, and they end up playing it. And it's the three of them, Darlene, Elliot, and Angela's kids, wishing Angela's mom a happy Mother's Day. It's like, why does Elliot's mom have that? Don't know why. So that might come back to play a little bit later, you know what I'm saying? Dom feeds the FBI internal investigator agent Horton some bullshit about him being connected to some Mexican drug cartel. And of course, Janice, who Dom's mom tried to hook her up with, who's like this heavy set woman, homely. I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to comment on beauty or looks anymore. So Janice, turns out she's working for the Dark Army, which I thought that was a cool twist. And she's like, just do your part. You figure it out or your mom's toast. And Dom's like, okay. So Dom feeds this internal investigator a bullshit story. And Janice asks if the Agent Horton bought the story. And she's like, yeah, I'm 99.99% sure. And of course, the Agent Horton ends up dead. Courtesy of the Dark Army, but they made it look like a suicide. So it's like, yeah, you're in deep shit, Dom. And then episode 3, which just aired, I guess Sunday, called Forbidden. And this one we get a deep dive into Whiterose's backstory, where she go back to 1982, where she's brokering a deal. Well, she hasn't come out yet as trans or gay. And the whole plan is, so his Zhang, which I didn't even know, this is how fucking white and ignorant I am. Like, I didn't know. Zhang. I would have bet my life that's pronounced Zhang or Zhang. And instead it's Zhang. I feel like a dickhead because my wife's friend's husband has the same last name, and I've been doing that stupid quote from Wayne's World to him every time I see him. And this is why people hate white people. And it's like, all right, I get it, but like, I just didn't fucking know, dude. Like every time I saw him, I'd be like, Zhang. And it's just like, nope, that's not how he does. Nope, it's Zhang. So stupid. But anyway, negotiating a deal with IBM, and you find out that his translator is his lover, and they're kind of behind the scenes. They're saying like, we need Zhang to become the ambassador to the U.S. so we can get the fuck out of China and be out and be gay and be proud and not have to hide their relationship anymore. And of course, you find out throughout the course of the episode that the translator lover is being forced to marry a woman in China. On his wedding day, he's like holed up in this room and he's crying, and Zhang comes in to comfort him and is like, hey, didn't really get that ambassador job in the US, but I was promoted or hired as Minister of State Security in China. So that's pretty good. And the lover's like, no, it's not good. And then slits his own throat. Seems extreme. I think they were in their 20s at the time, maybe early 30s. So it's like, just give the minister role a shot for a year, see how that plays out. But he just could not go through with it. But you also see when Zhang first comes out as trans to his lover, and the lover's like, you're beautiful, and they kiss, and I'm like, oh, that's a little, that makes me feel good and sad. And of course, the dress that he wore when he came out to his lover, or she came out to his lover, her lover, I fucking don't know, their lover, he, she, it, their, they are going to wear that same dress when the project, whatever this fucking project is, shipped from China. So while that's all going on, he agrees. Zhang agrees to set up this meeting on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, something like that, with the Deus group to go over who they will hire to replace Price as CEO of E Corp, and it's Tyrell Wellick, who we haven't seen a lot of so far in this season, and apparently is just like bored out of his mind as CTO. So Elliot tracks down this Olivia Cortez, who's the Deus Group's only U.S. account manager at Cyprus National Bank, the national bank that is funneling the funds or the money for Whiterose, which he found in the first episode by going to the lawyer, Freddy Lomax. And the plan was, we're going to go in, break in the apartment, but they find out that they need a security fob. So they end up following her to this bar where she's supposed to have a blind date with a guy named Evan. And they're going to snap. I don't know what the plan is from there, but the guy, Evan, stands her up at the bar. Elliot approaches with Mr. Robot and is very direct. Mr. Robot kind of smooths things over, which is kind of a reversal of how things have always been. And then Elliot and this girl connect because she used to be addicted to Oxycontin, and it was because of her mother being murdered. And the addiction to Oxycontin ruined her relationship with her father. So they kind of bond over their previous drug addiction, which there was a funny moment where Elliot's like, I used to be addicted to morphine. And he's like, although I did do heroin 2 days ago, kind of just like blasé. And she's like, oh, well, did someone force you down and inject you like against your will? And he's like, actually, yeah. So they hit it off. And I guess the actress who plays Olivia Cortez is the daughter of Andy Garcia. Fun little fact. And so they end up sleeping together. Of course, I can't tell you how many times I've gone into a bar and been like, hey, this guy's stand you up. I'm addicted to morphine. Want to bang? And it works, fucking unbelievable. But whatever. I'm happily married now. So who gives a shit? But after they sleep together, he wakes up, he gets the security fob, and then he kind of is in the bathroom hiding or something. And then they they kind of talk some more on the bathroom floor, and they end up bonding, and it's like, okay, so he's kind of like falling for her now, and so that's going to be an issue. But I mean, something more to this woman, obviously. I mean, your mother was murdered. We're not just going to like let that fly. We're not just going to like, oh yeah, your mother was murdered. It's like, I got to know, how was your mother murdered? And is it, and are you being recruited because your mother was murdered? Like Angela was being recruited because her mom was murdered. Like, is this like is that the whole plan, the whole scheme from the Dark Army and Whiterose and E-Corp is like, we're only going to hire people that have been fucked over by our company, and we're going to somehow manipulate them. Whew. And yeah, Vera, we check in on Vera, the drug dealer, and he's back in town, and he wants to bring Elliot into this drug dealing fold. This is, I don't know what I think about this storyline and this plot. I guess it's like we didn't really get to see Elliot get his revenge on Vera, really. For the bloodthirstiest of us all, we didn't really get to see just him exact his revenge in the best or worst possible way. So I can see how they want to bring him back in the fold just so they can have Elliot get satiate his bloodthirst. But I don't know. It just seems at the time it's like you're extraneous. You're like, I don't want to deal with this guy again. We got so much going on. But my hope is it'll have a really good big payoff. Yeah, so that was the first 3 episodes of Mr. Robot. I like where things are going. Some people have some criticisms about some dialogue, some lines here or there, and it's like, yeah, they're reaching sometimes. I was concerned about the level of fucks that they were saying. I was like, I had to do a little check on and be like, whoa, what is this? What's going on here? Like, they're saying fuck a lot. It kind of throws you off because it's like, this is USA basic cable, premium cable network, like, and I just completely missed in February of 2018, you were just allowed to say it. I just passed it. Like, you know what? Who cares anymore? Yeah. So let's talk about Watchmen. Season premiere of the new HBO show, produced by Damon Lindelof, who I think he did Lost. I might be Lost and Leftovers were the 2 big ones I think he's done. We start in the so I should say this. I never read the comic books, okay? Though my only exposure to Watchmen was the 2009 movie directed by Zack Snyder. A lot of people have taken issue with Zack Snyder and the way that he films and whatever, his stylistic choices. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't mind it. I don't hate it. Slow-mo is cool. But that was my only exposure to the Watchmen franchise and the Watchmen comics was through that 2009 movie, which really followed most of the storylines to a T, is very faithful to the comic books with the exception of the ending. If you haven't seen the Watchmen movie, I mean, come on, it's been 10 years. Get your shit together and watch it. But in the Watchmen movie, the way it ends is Adrian Veidt, Ozymandias or whatever. He decides that he's going to, in order to prevent nuclear war and World War III, he is going to prematurely launch some kind of missile from somewhere and blow up New York, though, and maybe another city, and that will make it look like I think he was trying to frame Dr. Manhattan to make it look like Dr. Manhattan was the one who blew up these cities, and then we could all come like Russia. This is at the height of the Cold War in 1985. So, the protagonist in the Watchmen movie, as it was in the comic books, is Rorschach, who's kind of this, I don't know, they say he's a far right leaning detective who is investigating the comedian's murder, and also superheroes are getting murdered at a ridiculous rate, and the comedian being one of his friends. So he investigates, and he stumbles upon this plot by Ozymandias, Adrian Veidt, who says, I'm going to do this to prevent World War III. So I'm actually, by killing these millions of people, now I'm saving millions of lives in the future, which is, that's kind of what Thanos did in Avengers. I mean, if we're being honest, he's like, I'm just gonna snap my fingers, wipe out half the population. The rest of us will be happier and live in peace, and we won't have any more war. I'm not saying we should do it, but you can kind of see his reasoning, his perspective. Don't do it. I'm not doing it. No one's doing it. Don't worry. So in the movie, he ends up going through with it, and it works. And because the Watchmen are too late to defeat him, and then Rorschach, there's that aftermath where it's like, okay, and we got to deal with what happened just now. And Rorschach's like, we got to tell the truth, dude. We got to tell everyone that this fucker did this. And Night Owl and Dr. Manhattan are like, whoa, pump the brakes, guy. Like, if we do that, it'll just make things worse, and like we just can't have that. Let's just go on with our lives. Like, let's just go on with our lives, whatever. And Rorschach's like, no, man, I'm not going to keep quiet. And Dr. Manhattan vaporizes him. Little does Dr. Manhattan know, and the other Watchmen, that Rorschach was keeping a journal. I feel like I'm saying that wrong. Rorschach. I don't know. He's keeping a journal, and he ends up dumping it off at a newspaper, a publication. What I didn't understand in that movie, and maybe that wasn't clear in the movie, but in the comic books, it was a similar ending, but slightly different. In the comic book, Adrian Veidt Ozymandias, he kidnaps or brainwashes a scientist to create a transdimensional squid, like a giant transdimensional squid that invades Manhattan, and with the purpose of killing millions in Manhattan. And then Russia and the United States would be like, holy shit, aliens. Like, we can't be fighting each other when aliens are attacking. We need to bond and get together to fight the aliens. So in the movies, this attack, the nuclear attack, I think, on the major cities preemptively, which I guess was they blamed Dr. Manhattan, and Dr. Manhattan has to take off from Mars because of it. They like, we got to fight again together, USA and Russia, against Dr. Manhattan. This one is this transdimensional squid from outer that Adrian Veidt has like created or something, with the brain of a scientist that can telepathically control the minds of people. And so that it comes into Manhattan, but like its entry, it gets like fucked up in the entry or something like that. And its mind like blows up the minds of all the people in Manhattan. Like 3 million people died or something like that. So it's, still, it's a major catastrophic, disastrous event. And the USA and Russia bond over the threat of aliens versus in the movie where it's a threat of Dr. Manhattan, I guess. So I was kind of wondering, like, when would this HBO Watchmen series take place? And like, I don't like to read too much about shows before they premiere. Like, I want to kind of just learn as I go, as opposed to knowing everything going in. It's like, what's the fun in that? You could say the same thing about online dating, I guess. So this one is set 30 years after the events of 1985 ish, where, Richard Nixon. So in the comics and in the movie, Richard Nixon, because he won the Vietnam War, thanks to Dr. Manhattan, they get the amendment repealed where you can only serve 2 terms. So he's like reelected. And so he's the president in 85 when all the shit goes down. But then because of that, Robert Redford is able to step in. And this is where it's a little unclear, but Robert Redford, the actor who founded the Sundance Festival, Brad Pitt before Brad Pitt, if you want to get contemporary, I guess. He's now president. Robert Redford is president. And Vietnam is the 51st state. But we don't see, and sometimes movies and TV shows do this because it's just not entertaining to watch people on their phones, but there are no cell phones. There are landlines and pagers. And so I thought, oh, is this still like, is this in the 90s? But apparently it's set in 2019. It's an alternate history. So my guess is that technology has not advanced like it would had Nixon not been president or Redford not been president, or the government has been really putting the kibosh on technological developments and hindering and restricting the development of technology, because why not? It's another thing you can control. The opening though for the premiere, whoo, boy. Now I want to say the first, and this is really sad, and this is just a testament to how ugly it's been, but I don't remember learning about the race riots at all in school. I think I first heard about or saw the race riots when I started working for the New York Post in November of last year, 2018. And I was going through the catalog of YouTube videos, and there was a little mini documentary, 12-minute documentary on the 1919 race riots, which I believe were in Alabama. And it was like I think they called it the Red Summer. I did not know that it was also going on in Tulsa in 1921. And that's how we open the movie we open with, there's, a movie, black and white silent movie playing. It's a man in all white being chasing a man in all black. And of course, like storytelling, if you studied storytelling, like I've studied storytelling, so pompous and pretentious, that there's always been historically white good, black bad. Like the color white, the hero wears white, the villain wears black. Because black is associated with darkness and shadiness and, whatever. And then white is associated with light. So you're shining a light, epiphany, revelations, you're exposing the truth, the white, so that's kind of where that comes from. So you're seeing this man in all white being chased by a man in all black, and you're like, okay, the man in all white is the hero, the man in all black is the villain, and that's how it's going to go. But you come to find out that the figure dressed in all black is the hero, because he exposes this guy for his crimes, his plot, and it's a black hooded figure who goes by the name Bass Reeves, who is the first or one of the first black U.S. Marshals. And it's important to remember that name, Bass Reeves. Bass Reeves? Bass Reeves. Because there's a kid, small black kid in a very empty movie theater watching this, and his mom is playing the organ, but she's like struggling and she's crying, and it's because there's like fucking race riots going on outside. So I guess they were just trying to like distract this little boy from like the insanity happening outside. The father comes running in, scoop up the boy. They're able to hand off the boy to a family that's getting the hell out of Dodge. And you see like just the massacre happened. Oh, it's awful to watch. And it is crazy that we just hide that. And I don't know. I mean, I went to school, high school was in the 90s, college was in the early 2000s. Like it wasn't until I think it wasn't until 2001 that Oklahoma started to investigate a lot of this shit. It's like, whoa, dude, it's almost, 80 years later, and you're starting to look into it and be like, all right, maybe we should, this is a part of our history, good or bad. We have to like let people know about it. But so the year's 2019. So the boys handed a note, or the family that takes the boy out of Tulsa as this is happening is handed a note, watch over my boy. So that's important to remember. Watch over my boy, that note. And the kid is like looking through the box that he's stashed in as he's escaping, and he sees like, the plane fly overhead and drops like some kind of bomb or dynamite or something on the where his parents were, and it's blown up. And then kind of cut to black, and then you wake up in a field and everyone's dead except this one baby. I think it's a baby girl, maybe a baby boy. And so then it's like, and that's the open. And you're like, what? Did I tune into the Watchmen? This is the Watchmen, right? It's just just an amazing opening scene. And then from there you cut to the scene with the black cop pulling over a pickup truck, and it's kind of a hillbilly redneckish good old boy driving the pickup truck, and the black cop has the mask over, which I think that's such a. There was I read the Vulture recap. Vulture is like New York Magazine's like pop culture commentary section or whatever, and their recap was like they feel torn because cops have been so associated with racism over the years, and yet now it's the cops versus the racists. But it's like, dude, this is an alternate history. So I understand how you might be triggered by the fact that you have these cops that, I guess in the first episode, are largely positioned as like, we're not racist, we're actually going after the racists in the 7th Cavalry, which, there's just so much to friggin' unpack in this goddamn episode. I don't even know if I'm going to get through it all, but like, the fact that, I just like everything about this first episode. It's a black cop. He's wearing the mask, and you automatically think, okay, we just saw the black hooded figure, Bass Reeves, who was one of the first black U.S. Marshals, on screen in that flashback to Tulsa, 1921. Cut to a black cop pulling over a white guy in a pickup truck, and you're thinking, okay, they're connected. Like, I don't think it turns out that they were connected, but you're automatically thinking, okay, this character, no matter what year we're in, I thought, I couldn't tell we're in 2019 at the time. I was just like, whatever. But they're related somehow. They're connected. And so he's wearing the mask, which I love that they're all wearing masks. The cops, I think that's a great, it just looks cool, and it just resonates. And of course, black cop gets out of the car, asks for license and registration. The guy's like answering the questions, seemingly okay, but there's like something off. Black cop goes back into his car, and he suspects something's up, because I think he saw something in the truck. But the thing is, his gun is like locked, and like the gun, where he's like, he has to call it in to get the gun unlocked so that he can use it. And you look at the lock on the gun, and you're like, this doesn't look like it doesn't look like a futuristic thing, like it doesn't look like the year 2080 or something like that. It looks kind of not even modern day-ish, like 2019. It does look like it's some kind of like a boot you put on a car like you'd see in the 90s. So that's why that threw me off. Like, I don't know what time frame we're in right now, because this doesn't seem, it's a futuristic idea, but it doesn't look like a futuristic, it doesn't look, the aesthetic doesn't look futuristic. So he has to call in to the station and say, hey, I need to unlock this gun ASAP. And they're like, do you view this as a threat? How high do you view as a threat? And then he has to answer all these questions, and like, you can see him just like, come on. They try to unlock it once, doesn't work. And then he finally unlocks it. And by that time he gets blown to bits, which I cannot believe he fucking survived that. That's where it's like, what? He took like, I don't know how many rounds from like a machine gun in the chest. And it's like, okay, you're wearing a Kevlar, and maybe in this alternate history, it's not Kevlar, but it's something stronger than Kevlar, because the fact that he took all those rounds to the chest and he's still alive, dude, no way. But so the redneck shot him up with a machine gun, but then you see they pan back and you see that the redneck's wearing a Rorschach mask. And now you're like, whoa, W, then also T, and also F. Like, what the fuck? Rorschach? Like, that's not Rorschach, because Rorschach died. But then you come to find out that this far right white supremacist group called the 7th Cavalry has like co-opted the Rorschach mask and I guess ethos to propagate their message, to spread their message of hate. And that kind of sucks, because, and I don't know, and maybe this was, but I really liked Rorschach in the movie, and that's probably not a good thing, because I didn't view him in the movie, Zack Snyder's movie. I didn't view him as like, oh, he's this far right guy. I just saw him as like, this guy loves justice. He loves truth and justice, which is like, you know, he's like a homelier, uglier Superman without all the powers, like, you know. And so that's how I kind of viewed him, as like, he's just this gritty dude who wants justice. That's kind of how I thought he was portrayed in the movie. He did say, you know, he did have a couple quotes in there where it's like, he talked about the filth and crime, but he was talking about crime. I don't think he was talking about like minorities and, you know, and whatnot, and homosexuals. I didn't think he had that kind of hate in him. I mean, he had a lot of hate for sure, but it wasn't that kind of hate. And apparently in the comic books, he did not feel, he was portrayed in a much more negative light than he was in the movie. So a lot of his messaging has been kind of twisted to a little bit by this 7th Cavalry that's essentially like the KKK. So that was jarring, because it's like, you know, I always saw Rorschach as kind of like this hero. I've always been a kind of a proponent of, you know, truth and justice. I've always been an honest person. So I kind of like, not related to him per se, but it's like, I can see, you know, I might have done the same thing if I'm like, no, we're not going to cover this up. That guy did it. Let's, you know, tell the truth. And so to see his iconic mask being used for just pure evil, it just fucking sucks. But the protagonist in this is not Rorschach. And and that's why I guess the creator of Watchmen has taken issue with the HBO series and with Damon Lindelof. And Damon Lindelof has been like, I don't give a shit. Like, this is what we're doing. Like, thanks for creating these characters, but we're gonna go our own way. And so the main character in this series, the protagonist, is Angela Abar, who is a black hooded figure. So now you're starting to think, okay, originally we thought the black cop was going to be like this descendant of Bass Reeves or connected to Bass Reeves in some way. And now we're following Angela Abar, who is also a black hooded figure, much like Bass Reeves was in Tulsa in 1921. But Angela Abar was born in Vietnam right before it became the 51st state. She then came to Tulsa, where she became a cop. And then, of course, there was it's a career day at her kid's school. And, you know, she's talking about just baking, just, you know, cooking and baking, you know, cupcakes and whatnot. And then the kid's like, well, you know, where are you from? What'd you do before you were bakery? Like, what happened? And she's like, I was a cop. I had to retire. And she gets into details about how there was, I guess, an event called the White Night. I think it was the White Night where, White Night, where she was attacked and shot along with a bunch of other officers in Tulsa in their homes by members of the 7th Cavalry. And so she now goes by the name Sister Night, which I did not pick up on at all while watching. I had to like read a recap to be like, oh, okay, that's what Sister Night. Got it. She's badass. Yeah, she's cool. I like her a lot. She has a relationship with, I guess, the police chief, played by Don Johnson, and his name is Judd in this. And they have an interesting kind of relationship where, you know, there's that he. I didn't know what to think of Don Johnson. I think that's the whole point. Like they didn't want you to think one way or the other. They would show him in kind of a interesting light where he's, you know, comes off as like, is he who he says he is? What is he covering up? What is, you know, he doesn't wear a mask. Everyone else wears a mask, but he doesn't. But yet he's got a mask of his own. Not to get all like like film TV 101 on you, but like he's got something he's hiding. And I think we see a glimpse of it when he's getting ready and getting dressed to go see the cop who's been shot. He gets the phone call late at night saying like the cop is awake because I guess he's been in a coma. And so he gets dressed in all his police regalia, which I don't think is something you usually do if you're just going to see one of your officers in the hospital, as if he knew maybe something was going on. And then as he's getting done dressed, there's like a shot where it lingers on all his stuff, and there's like a photo, and I honestly couldn't tell you what the photo was. I know that was supposed to be important, but I couldn't figure out what that photo was. It was like, I don't even know if it was him. It was like two white dudes together, and it was in black and white, and you're just like, that seems important. There are also some snippets from like the show within a show about American Hero story about the Minutemen, which is basically what started the Watchmen, that first group. And, you know, there's the comedian was a member of the group, Silk Spectre, Captain Metropolis, Hooded Justice, Dollar Bill. And so it's interesting but they tended to focus a lot on Hooded Justice. You see like the banner on the bus, you see like the commercial, the promo on TV, and it seems to like focus on Hooded Justice more than anything else. Which plays into what the imagery that we've been seeing, you know, from the opening chase sequence with the Bass Reeves as the black hooded figure, to Angela Abar and her Sister Night costume, which is just, you know, black hooded figure, to Hooded Justice. So I'm trying to think of like, there's got to be a connection there. But it's like Hooded Justice was in New York. His real identity was never revealed, but it turns out he was a homosexual who was involved with Captain Metropolis. And he's the only masked vigilante whose final fate is never fully resolved. You know, but that was the 30s. So it's like 1921 Tulsa, the 30s would have been 9-ish to 10 plus years. How is that related? So a lot of questions, open-ended questions still going on. But that the guy, okay, so the Don Johnson gets dressed in full regalia. He goes out, he hits a rumble strip, his car, you know, the flat tires, and then there's a light that flashes on him, and you're like, whoa, who's that? And then Angela Abar gets a call saying, come out to the tree at this place. She comes out. Don Johnson's hanging from a tree. And there's the old black dude. It was the same old black dude that was outside the bakery and said to Angela, because Angela has a bakery that she hasn't really opened. She uses it as a cover to do this superhero shit on the low. And the old black guy was like, hey, do you think I could lift 200 pounds? And she's like, random. And then, of course, you know, it's like, yeah, he can lift 200 pounds. He just hung Don Johnson. I shouldn't laugh about hanging, but... So a lot of people were wondering why the squids, that one scene where it was kind of like a leftovers scene very Damon Lindelof, where it's like it starts to rain and all these little squid keep falling on the from the heavens and onto the car windshield that Angela is driving, and they just treat it like it's an everyday occurrence. Like Angela gets out and she scrapes the squid off, and the kid's like, "Oh, this is annoying." And the theory here is that and Lindelof has said this, he's not following like most of the canon from the movie. He's following the canon from the comics. So the comics ended with Rorschach still gets vaporized by Dr. Manhattan for wanting to expose the truth. But the transdimensional squid happened. That happened. And so the theory is that there's some kind of, there's either some side effects, some posts, aftershocks from that transdimensional squid thing happening, where it's like now there's all these little squid in the clouds. Apparently, I don't buy that. Or, if you remember when the character Looking Glass, which is such a badass. Like, I love the mirror mask. I think that's so badass. Red Scare was like. It's just this Russian guy in like a homemade costume with like a red ski mask. And it's like, that guy, what does that guy do? I just thought that was so funny. He's like eating like a muffin in the meeting where Don Johnson's like, we're going to go after the 7th Cavalry. And like, fuck the gun laws. We're going to go in guns blazing. When Don Johnson and Angela Abar raided the cattle ranch where the 7th Cavalry was, Red Scare was just like eating like a cookie or something like that. And then, but Looking Glass, it's so cool. Like his mask is so cool. And then he's played by the guy who did Buster Scruggs. If you've ever seen like the Ballad of Buster Scruggs by the Coen brothers, it's a good movie. It's just depressing as fuck. But I guess his name is Tim Blake Nelson or something like that, who played Buster Scruggs in the movie. He plays this guy Looking Glass, and he has this badass like mask he pulls down. It's basically like a mirror. And so he interrogates this guy who's supposedly a member of the 7th Cavalry, captured by Angela Abar. And he interrogates him in this pod. And one of the questions he asks a bunch of questions like, if I were to defecate on the United States flag, what would you do? And just trying to get a sense of, it's basically a lie detector test sort of thing. And so one of the questions is, do you think the government has perpetrated a transdimensional hoax against the US people or something like that? So it makes me think that, yeah, the government has continued this facade of aliens, squid aliens, that threat by having it raid squid every once in a while, just to remind people like, hey, aliens are still a thing and exist, and that's how they try to keep the peace. So yeah, I totally think, I don't think it's like there's not like a good scientific explanation. You know, like the transdimensional squid has lingering effects. No, it's the government like raining squid on people. It's so ridiculous. Do you believe that transdimensional attacks are hoaxes staged by the U.S. government? Which is, in a way, a reference to 9/11, you know, saying like, do you believe the 9/11 attacks were hoaxes staged by the U.S. government? You think it was an inside job, which there's no fucking way that was an inside job. But I don't think the transdimensional attack was a hoax per se. I mean, it happened. It's just like all this like stuff coming after it is, yeah, it's probably still being carried on by the U.S. government to keep up this threat level. So the old guy who says, do you think I can lift 200 pounds, who's found underneath the tree where Don Johnson was hanging, is 105 years old, which means that, and his name is Will Reeves, which I don't know that that's revealed in the show. but he's Will Reeves, which means he's related to Bass Reeves. And he's 105 years old, which if it's 2019, 1919 would be 100. He would have been 2 in 1921. So you added a couple years, 3 years. So yeah, he would have been a kid. He would have been a kid that's the same age as the boy watching the movie in Tulsa 1921 in that opening scene. So, whoo, baby. And of course, there's a headline on the news. People still read newspapers apparently, and the headline read, "Veidt officially declared dead," but he's obviously not. And they couldn't have cast a more spot on person for Adrian Veidt than Jeremy Irons. Like the guy that they got in the Watchmen movie was good. I liked him a lot. And Jeremy Irons is like, if you were to age that actor 30 years or whatever, that would be Jeremy Irons. Yeah. So they nailed that. And he's obviously holed up in some castle far away with a bunch of servants, like old school castle, living that old school life as he's writing a book called The Watchmaker's Son, which is about Dr. Manhattan. And they're celebrating an anniversary, and the servant hands him to cut the cake. The servant hands him a horseshoe, and he's like, "Oh, do you think a knife would be better?" And it's like, "Yeah, dumbass." So I'm thinking either these servants have been brainwashed, which that's what Veidt had done with the scientist that created the squid, the transdimensional squid. So that's in play, but also robots, maybe. I don't know. It's so rustic and like old school that you don't think that there would be robots. So it's possible it's robots. But oh man, whew, this is my new favorite show. Possibly top show 2019. Best new show for show. So I'm in love with the Watchmen. I love it a lot. I like it a lot. And I like the direction they're taking. Will we see Dr. Manhattan? He's on Mars. They showed like a little news clip and where he's on Mars. So I think that he will probably return. Will we see Night Owl and Silk Spectre? I don't know. But I kind of like the characters that they have in play right now. I like that it's kind of like, a little bit of an offshoot. We're on the third iteration. You had the Minutemen in the 30s and the Watchmen of the 80s, and now it's kind of like, the new Watchmen. I don't mind that one bit. All right, so that's TV. Let's talk Mets. The Mets are Metsing yet again. This managerial search is turning into a goddamn circus. We now have a quote unquote bombshell candidate. A mystery managerial candidate that has everyone speculating crazily we're going to bring back Terry Collins. We're going to bring back Willie Randolph. We're going to bring back Bobby Valentine. David Wright is going to manage, who Wright's always said no. Mike Piazza, David Cohn, who we've already mentioned before, but it's like, I don't know, Keith Hernandez, Ron Darling. I mean, every name has been thrown out there. Jessica Mendoza, which I don't know nearly enough about this woman to make a judgment call, but it would be so Mets to be, because like they signed Tim Tebow with the hope of this is going to bring publicity and sell tickets. Like the Tim Tebow is a tremendous story, against the odds in the NFL. And then goes the MLB, and then to be able to come up in the majors, it hasn't been done since Deion and Bo. So, that was like the primary reason for signing Tim Tebow. And like for them to make Jessica Mendoza a manager, it's like the first female baseball manager. It's like I could totally see that happening. And I don't know that it will not end well. And I think that's a wasted opportunity. I just think there are other better candidates. I don't know enough about Jessica Mendoza, but knowing the other candidates that are out there, I think there's a better choice. But yeah, it's, this is insane at this point that someone somewhere told the press bombshell candidate. And it's like, why would you do that, dude? Why would you do that? So, I thought we were close to getting Girardi, and now it looks like Girardi is going to be signing with the Phillies, which sucks. Phillies ditched Gabe Kapler, and now they're going after Girardi, and now we have to deal with Girardi coaching the Phillies to another fucking World Series. I just, it's just unreal. It's unreal. I cannot, it's become a joke at this point. It's become a joke. There's so many names being thrown out there, and it's like, I don't know. So I'm not even going to focus on that because it's out of my control. It's out of your control. At this point, it doesn't look like they're going to get the best fit in my mind. I don't know. I mean, I just think I don't hate Beltran being the next manager. To me, it would be nice to have an experienced manager like a Girardi. I would almost take Showalter over Beltran now that I've started to think about it. But maybe Showalter's kind of past his prime. He's kind of lost his touch. It's tough. I wouldn't mind Beltran. David Cohn is just so out of left field in my mind. Ron Darling would be interesting, though. I think there was a poll on Twitter that I looked at, and, I voted for Ron Darling out of 4 candidates. One of the candidates was Mike Piazza. I don't know. Does Mike have any coaching experience? I don't know. Let's talk about this week in Mets history. We haven't done this in a while. It's been a while. And I'm going to get back to it because that's what I do when shit starts to get weird and stuff sucks and things are going badly. I look back on the glory days. I turn to nostalgia to cure my pains and my ills because, the Mets are going to it feels like the Mets are going to blow this manager decision big time. And that's going to cost us a chance to go on multiple playoff runs, possible multiple World Series. Because I think we've got the goods. We just need a manager to guide us. That's all we need. So let's take a look back at the better times or, worse times and just reopen some wounds. Why not? October 16th, 1969, the Mets win their 4th straight World Series game to become world champions. Jerry Koosman tosses a 5-hitter. And Ron Svoboda's double and 2 Oriole errors in the 8th helped seal the deal. Man, what a time to be alive. That 1969 season. I think SNY has a special on that year because it was the Jets winning, the Mets winning, and then there was the moon landing and there was something else. So it was just a lot to celebrate in 69. Not the Manson murders, obviously, but to have the Mets win a World Series in their 7th or 8th season in existence, huge. I need to do more. I need to watch more of that. I think there's more of that becoming available now, and we're starting to get to see more and more of those World Series, that World Series. So I think I need to really brush up on it because the 69, 73 teams. It's just the 73 team especially is the one that we just all kind of glaze over and gloss over and forget about. But the 69 team for sure, they were 100-1 shot. October 16th, 2000, Game 5, the NLCS. The Mets capture their 4th National League pennant when Mike Hampton throws a complete Game 3 hit shutout, blanking the Cardinals at Shea, 7-0. Bobby Valentine's team joins the 97 Marlins as the only other wild card team to advance to the World Series. That was a wild year. And it was so weird too, because we weren't really an offensive juggernaut. I mean, we had Jay Payton and Timo Perez and Benny Agbayani. It was mostly our infield. I mean, Ordonez, Alfonso, Zeal, and Ventura. Did we have Ventura in 2000? I don't think we did. No. Piazza. October 16th, 2003 in Game 7. No, I can't read this. God damn it. October 17th, 1999. So this is the big one that I wanted to talk about, was the Grand Slam. It's the 20th anniversary of the Grand Slam single. I remember where I was. I was in my dorm room. I was a sophomore at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, Maryland. I was in my dorm room. I had a dorm room my room, and then you go down the hall, and there was a room down the hall that had two of my eventual fraternity brothers in it. Alan, aka the Rabbi, aka the White Pony, and Scott, aka Duder. I wish we had a better nickname for him, but we already had a Scooter, and he said his name was Scooter and was like, who's first, chicken or the egg? Well, we're going to go with that guy. Even though he's a year younger, you're a Duder. So sorry, Scott. Scott was a really nice guy. I hope he's doing well. We bonded over, like, we were both had experience in Rhode Island. Like, he's from Rhode Island. I'd lived in Rhode Island for a little bit. And so I was in my room, and I guess the game was on NBC. Bob Costas was announcing, and I just remember going ape when this happened. And then I was thoroughly confused by what transpired after he actually hit the ball. So the game's tied 2-2. It's top of the 15th. And Octavio Dotel gives up an RBI triple to Keith Lockhart to give the Braves a 3-2 lead. In the bottom of the 15th, we load the bases against Kevin McGlinchey. Todd Pratt, my God, for a guy that didn't really have a whole lot of starts because of Piazza, had some huge moments in Mets history. I mean, of course, you have the home run against Randy Johnson in the 2000 NLDS, I think. Was it 2000 or 99? One of those two. But he draws a base load walk to tie the score at 3-3. Next batter is Ventura, and he crushes the 2-1 pitch over the right field wall. But the kicker here is that he rounds first, and like the entire Mets dugout pours out into the field and mobs him, and Todd Pratt actually physically like grabs him and picks him up and doesn't allow him to round the bases. And I remember being like, fuck, what's going on? Like, are we going to get, in my football mind was thinking there's going to be a flag thrown, and there's like, what's the 15-yard penalty in unsportsmanlike conduct version in baseball? Like, is there an equivalent? Because, my knowledge of baseball rules not as thorough as NFL rules. So at the time I'm like, oh shit. Like, no, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I was like screaming because I'm like, does this like disqualify us? Like, okay, we had a guy, like, I think a guy scored by the time he got tackled. Does that mean that run definitely counts, right? But then what about the other runs? And like as if I cared about the other runs. Like, no one cares about the other runs, except if you're a gambler. And I didn't gamble on this game. I haven't gambled. I pretty much didn't gamble until like 2 years ago on sports. I'm a puss. Anyway, sports books in Las Vegas were put into an unusual situation with the single, quote unquote. If Ventura had completed the Grand Slam, his trip around the bases and touched home plate, the final score would have been 7-3, which case the game would have gone over. The over-under line was 7.5. Can you imagine? I mean, if you bet on that game, the over on that game, and you got screwed by Todd Pratt tackling Robin Ventura, and you had lots of money on that game, that should be not a 30 for 30, but that should be a video. That should be an interview. There's got to be plenty of people who bet the over and were just completely screwed over by that ruling. Yikes. Oral Hershiser, who played for the 99 Mets, said, it will be right up there with Kirk Gibson's home run, which Hershiser was on that team in 88. And he said, it'll be right up there with Kirk Gibson's home run, Carlton Fisk, Bucky Dent. That won't be on. This one will be on that tape with them. So all-time greatest postseason plays, moments. If Ventura had completed his trip around the bases, it would have been the first walk-off grand slam in Major League Baseball postseason history at the time. Of course, Nelson Cruz did it years later, but whew, what a time to be alive. That was great. At that point, I thought we're going to win the series. Like, I know it was game 5 and it was 3-1 at the time. So we made it 3-2. And then it went game 6 and I guess 7 went back to Atlanta. But I thought to myself, we have all the momentum in the world. We've got all the juju. We're good to go. Like, a grand slam single is just going to be one of many great moments during our World Series victory. Our World Series win. And then we have 2 days later. So I'm riding the high of the Grand Slam single, even though it was very confusing at the end. I didn't know what was happening. It took a very long time for me to process what was going on. 2 days later, my entire world collapses. October 19th, 1999. The Braves, Mets in Atlanta. Kenny Rogers on the bump, which for those of you who don't understand is the mound. Bases loaded. 9-9 is the score. We're in the bottom of the 11th. And Kenny Rogers has a full count on Andrew Jones. Just throw a strike, dude. Just throw a strike. I know it's Andrew Jones. I know the bases are juiced to the gills. I know you don't want to give up a hit or a home run, but you know what's worse? Not even giving your defense an opportunity. And that's exactly what Kenny Rogers did. He walks Andrew Jones. Gerald Williams comes in to score. The Braves take the series 4-2 in 6. They go on the World Series and they lose to the Yankees. At that same time that was happening, literally, and maybe my memory is completely fucked. It probably is. And it probably didn't go down exactly like this, but I tend to movify things, and I movified the events that happened that night. Because as that's happening, as Kenny Rogers is losing us our season, my first ever girlfriend, didn't have a girlfriend, an official, legitimate girlfriend. Okay. Not a girlfriend that you hold hands with at the park in 3rd grade, like a girlfriend that you have kissed on the mouth. Okay. Like, I had a girlfriend in high school and we didn't do anything. And it's just like, we didn't even kiss. And it's just like, what is this? So my first official real girlfriend was in college. So I didn't kiss anyone in high school. Newsflash. I know. Big surprise. You're a loser, Neal. Got it. Didn't kiss anyone in high school. My first kiss was in college. That first kiss was my first. And then my first girlfriend. So in that order, pretty much. It was just like, yeah, we should probably make this a fish. And we went out from, I want to say, around my birthday. Was it my birthday? Yeah. Oh, no, maybe it was before that. It was September, October of freshman year in college. Got together. October 19th of 1999. This is now my sophomore year. On this night, when Kenny Rogers kills the Mets by not throwing a strike, she dumps me. My first ever girlfriend. And let me tell you, folks, it came out of fucking left field. And especially when I'm in a down moment like this, where it's like my Mets were so close to shocking the world and going to a Subway Series in 99. And that happens. And then the girlfriend dumps me. And I went into an absolute tailspin my sophomore year. That was the beginning of the end of a lot of things for me. It was just like, this is the first person I ever said I love you to. You know, it was the first everything. And for that to end so abruptly, me not seeing it at all. I didn't see this coming at all. And to her credit, because she's older and she had boyfriends before me, like a normal person. She had partners before college. And so to her credit, she was about a year or 2 years older than me, even though she was the same year. and I'm a year young for my grade. So it's really like almost like a freshman senior dynamic. She tried to not rip off the Band-Aid, which is, I mean, it's a mistake. You know, she probably just been like, it's over, bye. But she tried to say, let's just gradually phase things out. Like phase 1, we're going to stop doing it. And I'm like, okay, what's happening? Phase 2, we're going to stop the other stuff. Okay, so no more second, third base, first base. This is appropriate. We're watching the demise of the Mets, and now we're talking baseball bases in terms of hooking up. Got it. Third phase, no more kissing. Fourth phase, no more hugging. Fifth phase, no more handshakes. Like it was literally like, boop, 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 boop. We're just going to, all kinds of intimacy and physical contact are going to go away over the next couple, whatever phases. So, I mean, she was trying, you know, in her defense, I guess she was trying to look out for me and my well-being. Cause I was, hey, I'm this guy's first girlfriend, and he didn't kiss anyone in high school. So he's probably not going to take this very well. And I didn't. I took it very poorly and did some awful things, despicable things. Nothing that landed me in jail, but things that I regret to this day. And that was 20 years ago that this happened. I was 18 and, a lot of hormones pumping through the bod at that point, a lot of juices going. So, and I still, you think I get triggered and emotional today. Yikes, dude. 18-year-old me, I couldn't handle it. So I thought I could handle it. I was like, oh yeah, this makes sense. Let's just phase out this stuff. And then what I didn't know is that we would phase out talking to each other. Like, I didn't really know that was also part of the plan. Like, we're going to stop hugging and kissing, but we're also going to stop shaking hands, and we're also going to stop talking to each other completely. I didn't sign that agreement. I thought it was like, well, we'll stay in contact. We'll stay in touch. Like, we can do this. We didn't have a bad breakup. You decided you didn't want to be with me anymore. I got it. I told you I love you. Yeah, whatever. You didn't say it back. It's okay. We'll stay in touch. No problem. I've seen people do this. I've heard about it in the news, couples that break up and stay friends. It's possible. Meanwhile, I've yet to do that with anyone. That's just not something I can do, I guess, personally. It's on me. But yeah, I didn't know that was part of the plan. So in retrospect, it probably would have been better if she was been like, you're at, like, I don't even know how you ripped the Band-Aid when I didn't do anything. I didn't cheat on her. I wasn't abusive towards her. I was just a sorry sack of shit who's boring, I guess. I was not fun. That was basically it, I guess. So maybe, I don't know how you rip the Band-Aid in that case. It's just like, I don't love you anymore. I'm sorry. I've moved on. Or, just tell me you cheated on me, which I think she did. Now that I'm thinking about it, and it was with an eventual fraternity brother. He denies it, but I'm pretty sure. That was October 19th, 1999. That's when I developed, that's when my brain got a little more poisoned. Like, okay, my favorite team is going to let me down. This is one of many disappointments that I should get used to, but I never will. And my distrust of women in general because of one bad relationship. And you want to know who I am and why I am and where I am and what I am? Boom. October 19th, 1999. 7 years later, 2006, October 19th, that same day. Every time October 19th comes around, I say a little, oh yeah, remember you got dumped on that day? First ever girlfriend, phase out plan. Yep. So 2006, NLCS, Game 7. Mets, Cards, in Shea. This was the year. It's the 20th anniversary of the 86 team. We ran through our division. We pretty much ran through the National League. And then we hit a blip with the Cardinals. And that's when I realized that the Cardinals are our crux. They are a thorn in our side, and they have been since the 80s. And I kind of forgot it before this series. And then this just all brought up all the bad feelings about the Cardinals. But Scott Rowland's up and he crushes a ball to left field. And Endy Chavez goes back, and I'm thinking, this game's over. This is a 2-run home run, and we've just lost on a 2-run home run. I can't believe it. This is how our season's going to end. And Endy Chavez skies, just leaps. And he's left-handed, so he sticks up his right arm and his glove, and he reaches all the way back over the fence, and the ball takes his glove all the way back over the fence. He brings it back, and he throws the guy out at first or second. I think first, maybe. Double play, end the inning. And at that point, if you're a Mets fan, you're like, we're winning this fucking game. We're going to the goddamn World Series. I mean, there's no way you lose after that. It's just not possible. And then, of course, Yadi Molina hits a 2-run home run. Cards go up 3-1, and Carlos Beltran strikes out looking on a hook, nasty hook, and the Cards go to the World Series. God damn it. Are you kidding me? I mean, after all that we've been through, and after the numbers that we put up and the team that we put together in 06, how strong we looked, and it was just like, that was our year. And the Cardinals stole that from us. And I remember listening. I think someone mentioned that Beltran struck out against, I think, Wainwright or something like that. Some pitcher that at the time wasn't who he was. Didn't have the reputation that he had. But like Beltran was facing a very good pitcher at that time who threw a very good pitch. It's just like, damn it, dude. Put some wood on it, foul it off, do something. Just don't look. Yeah. There's a note here that Beltran has the best home run ratio in postseason history. It's like, you throw that in there, your little tidbit. Oh, thanks for the tidbit on a backwards K, you dick. But yeah, that was the year. And a lot of people, Mets fans say that, like, if we beat the Cardinals, we would have destroyed the Tigers in the World Series. I don't know about that. I mean, we weren't exactly at full strength when we faced the Cardinals, and I don't think we would have been against the Tigers either, but I thought we had enough to beat the Tigers. I don't know that we would have swept them because the Tigers were a juggernaut that year as well. So, but I think defensively they had some flaws. So, the one that got away, that stunk. Was also going through a weird breakup during this one. Forgot that. I kind of had broken up with a girl who was in a group, or my new group of friends. And so I was very worried about breaking up with her because I was kind of the outsider with this new group of friends. And so I was like, if I break up with her, then am I breaking up with the group of friends? I don't want to break up with the group of friends. I like the group of friends. So I was very hesitant for months to pull the trigger on breaking up with her because I was like, if I break with her, I'm not going to be able to hang out with these dudes. And these dudes seem cool because she's part of that group. And it turns out, yeah, you can break up with her. Like, she was not that integral to the group that I thought she was. But it was months where it took a while to pull the trigger, and then I did. And then we just kept seeing each other over and over again. And that's never good. So that fall 2006 was torturous. And it's so funny because she ended up marrying a kid that went to high school with my sister, who's like 5 to 6 years my junior. So, and I actually introduced them down at the shore. How bananas is that? Fucking weird life. What a weird world. That's when when Good Luck Chuck came out with Dane Cook, I was like, yep, that's me. Because that's happened multiple times. October 21st, 1973. This is another season where I wish I need to like relive, especially if we're going to hire a bullshit manager that's going to tank us in the years to come. I got to look back to the more moments than just the Grand Slam single. October 21st, 1973, Game 7 of the World Series. A's beat the Mets 5-2. Daryl Knowles comes out of the bullpen for the A's with 2 outs and 2 on in the ninth and gets Wayne Garrett to pop out. Ugh. He's the first pitcher to appear in all 7 games of a World Series. He hurled 6 1/3 innings in that World Series without giving up an earned run and recorded 2 saves. Daryl Knowles. First time I'm seeing that name. Like Wayne Garrett, I don't know. I was born in 80. So I would love to, if I can find the full length games from the 73 World Series, even though we lost, it'd just be fun to watch. The 69 series too. I got to track those down and just watch them, because I think that would be something cool to relive. October 21st, 1986. We dropped the first 2 games of the World Series against the Sox at home, and then we beat them in Fenway 7-1. Lenny Dykstra's first inning home run marks the 3rd time in history in which the Mets leadoff hitter has homered in the initial inning of Game 3 of the Fall Classic. What? Okay, whatever. The feat was also accomplished by Tommy Agee and Wayne Garrett. There's Wayne Garrett again. Wayne. Lenny Dykstra's home runs, and I think this is the one I'm thinking about, but most of his home runs, and especially this one, I think, they don't look like they're going out, because he's a small guy to begin with, but he's very compact and dense. And like, he has a swing where it almost looks he's swinging one-handed. Like, he's only got one hand on the bat, and it looks soft. And it just gets out, just flat. I mean, obviously the right field porch in Fenway is nothing. It's like little league stuff. But at the same time, like, I just remember Lenny, it's just a very smooth swing, and it just kind of pops off the bat. And you're like, that could be a bloop single, or I guess it's a home run. Cool. Daryl too had a weird, Daryl's swing was just so, it didn't look powerful. You look at Jose Canseco or McGuire, and they're just fucking muscles on muscles on muscles, and they look like they just muscle the ball of the stadium and just crack the ball. Daryl had more like a Griffey Jr. type swing, where it's just very smooth, and it just calmly went off the bat and out of the stadium. God damn it. October 21st, 2000. This is the longest World Series game ever played. I was a junior at Johns Hopkins when this went down. Game 1. So I was a junior, but I was hanging out with freshmen, Neal, what are you doing? So I would go get beer with my fake ID, because I wasn't even 21 yet. Good God. And I go over to the freshman dorms, because there was a girl who was a freshman who ironically was older than me, but was a freshman. That's how young I was for my grade. I had freshmen that were older than me, multiple freshmen that were older than me. So what are you, a child prodigy? You fucking Doogie Howser? No, I don't. I'm unemployed. So, a lot of good that did me. But so I went over there game 1, brought over some 40s. And this was the epic, Mets are going to win this game bet that I made. Not epic. I mean, it basically said, if the Mets lose this game, I'll let you shave my head. And I had a very nice head of hair. I know you can't tell it now. I got a bald spot that'll blind children, but back then it was like, my hair is my life. But I honestly didn't care. And I ended up getting my head shaved in the freshman dorms by freshmen, and they all laughed. And I was like, this is your life. Yankees took this game. Jose Vizcaíno's 12th inning, 2-out single was the difference. 4-3, 4 hours and 51 minutes. And that was the Yankees' 13th consecutive World Series game win. And, that really set the tone, basically, because if we win that game, I think that was in the Bronx, right? So I think that was at Yankee Stadium. If we win that game, I think the whole series is different. I mean, it was, the Yankees won the series 4-1, but there were There was only one game, I think, that was kind of out of hand and was not winnable. All the other games, it was basically like the 2015 World Series all over again. You know, where we would have the lead, we have the opportunity to go ahead, and we just couldn't pull it together. So people look at that and they say, "Oh, the Yankees smoked the Mets 4-1, no big deal." And it's like, did you watch the series? Because it was a lot closer than that. I think that was the game that Timo Perez like didn't run out. Like he like swung and like kind of got contact on a ball and it kind of dribbled down the baseline. He just didn't run, and he got out, and it turned out to be very pivotal moment, crucial error by the Mets. October 22nd, 1986. The Mets finally tie the series up at 2 on Gary Carter's 2 home runs, 6-2 victory. That's another series I got to go back and watch in full, because I feel like that just had a lot of juice to it. There's a lot of electricity. It was one of the more entertaining World Series, you know, to have the New York versus Boston World Series, you know, and I'll explain why that particular World Series will play into my argument later that I'm about to get into. But last but not least, October 22nd, 2000, Game 2 of the Subway Series World Series. Yankees beat us again 6-5. Every game was like a run or two, you know? I mean, it was literally like, it wasn't like they crushed us. But this was the game where Roger Clemens threw the barrel of the shattered bat at Mike Piazza. And then as Mike was running at first, and Mike just kind of was like, what? And then everyone else charged Clemens, and Clemens was yelling his face off. Of course, Rocket had beamed Mike in July. And the bench is emptied, but nothing happened. God damn. Can you imagine if just Piazza just like lost his mind and went after Clemens and beat the fuck out of him? Oh, that'd have been perfect. Could have changed the series. Of course, we would have been without our superstar slugger, and they would have been out without Clemens. It's like, I think, you know, they win that battle. And maybe that's going through Mike's head, is like, I'm not going to get ejected and suspended in the damn World Series because Roger has a thumb up his ass. What a dick. I used to love Roger Clemens when he was with the Red Sox too. He was like, I used to emulate him on the mound when I was a kid, you know, try and like do the same exact mannerisms and wind up and delivery and all that. Didn't help me, but, and then he pulled this bullshit in that year. And, you know, I'm Team Piazza, obviously. So I mentioned the Mets Red Sox World Series and how, and in an argument that I recently used, and I made a major mistake. I called into Barstool Radio, and I called into the Clancy and Carrabis featuring Kayce show, CCK show. KFC is a Mets fan. Carrabis was not on the show. He's a Red Sox fan, but he had strep throat, so he was out. And Kayce is a fraudulent Red Sox fan. In my mind, I don't think she's an actual real Red Sox fan. I think she's just like, oh, the Red Sox are good now, I'm going to be a Red Sox fan. You know, she's from Texas. She went to A&M, but yet she's a Pats and like Red Sox fan. Why wouldn't you be a Rangers, Astros, Cowboy? Like, she's a Cowboys fan, but she's also a Patriots fan? I don't know. Her fandom is all over the map, which is nuts. So I don't really focus on what she has to say with regards to this. KFC was saying, like, if the Yankees and Nationals go to the World Series, and I mentioned this in my last episode, he would 1,000% root for the Nationals. He's rooting against the Yankees. He doesn't want the Yankees to win. And he says that the Yankees are bigger rivals for the Mets than the Nationals. And then I was like, oh, you know, all right, KFC, whatever. But then he's saying, like, you're a fraudulent Mets fan. He gave like 3 criteria. You're like either not from New York, you were born after 95, or blah, 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 blah. And there was like 3 things where it's like, if you you are these three criteria if you don't root against the Yankees, if the Nationals and Yankees go to the World Series. And I was like, and calling me, basically calling me out personally, which, you would think I would be above that by now. You're almost 40, Neal. Come on. But I wasn't. And the heart started racing. I was like, I'm going to call in. Now, I haven't called into a radio show, I don't think ever. Like I called, like KFC and Clem from Barstool have a podcast called We Gotta Believe. I called, they have a voicemail set up, and I called and left voicemails on that. They don't use them because they suck. I also called KFC Radio, was unemployed in 2012, and left a bunch of voicemails. They didn't use them, so they sucked then too. So I've sucked for a very long time. So I made the mistake. I got triggered and I called and I was like, I'm going to give KFC a what for. I'm going to explain the logic behind why I would root for the Yankees. Sorry. I would root for the Nationals to lose if they're playing the Yankees in the World Series. I called up and the heart's racing. I'm like ready to go. I got all these like bullet points running through my head, talking points of reasons like why. And I put on hold for like half an hour. And for the first 5, 10, 15 minutes, you're waiting on hold. You're like, okay, here are the bullet points. Here are the talking points. Here are the bullet points. And then you start listening to the show because the show is playing as you're on the phone. And so you start listening to them on the phone. They're talking about something else. And then they're talking about something else. And then KFC is making like a very valid argument about why you should root for the Nationals if they play the Yankees in the World Series. And so I'm like starting to think about that. And all the bullet points and all the talking points that I'm thinking about that I need to say on this phone call to, I don't know, win. I'm not going to win. There's no winning. It's a stupid argument. No one's winning. All those talking points are fading away and evaporating like, most of the Avengers in Infinity War. Spoiler alert. So all of a sudden it's like, I don't know, it's Za or someone gets on and is like, what's your name? Where you coming from? And of course, I'm in the middle of lunch and I just put in a fucking massive wad of roast beef thinking that I could chew through that and swallow it before I'm put online. And so I'm like, so who knows what he put up on the screen as my name and location. And I finally get on. It's been 35 minutes after I initially called in and I've already forgotten most of the talking points. And so I'm like, all right, I was born in 80, so I'm 38. Lifelong Mets fan. I'm not rooting for the Yankees to win. I'm rooting for the Nationals to lose. And they went apeshit on me. Casey's trying to make some kind of like Texas A&M analogy that I could not follow. It's like, well, we haven't been competitive with Texas in a long time and we still hate them and we want to see them lose. And it's like if we were to play out, and I'm just like, dude, that's a little too far removed from what we're talking about. It's like college football. It's Texas. It's like A&M's in another fucking like conference now. They don't even play Texas anymore. Like, it's just, I couldn't follow that. And KFC, like, essentially didn't necessarily tear me a new one at first, but they eventually, by the time he hung up on me, they were like, you're a crazy person. So I'm going to try and articulate my argument a little bit better this time around, where I'm a little more composed and I'm not just babbling, because there was a point where it's like my argument was Yankees Mets rivalry. Is it a rivalry? We're in the same town. I understand that you're surrounded by Yankees fans. There are more Yankees fans than Mets fans, and they have the upper hand. My point was, what's the goddamn difference between a Yankees fan yelling 27 rings and 28 rings? It's a number. It's an absurd number, and it's a preposterous number. It's a ridiculous number. It's a number that most teams won't ever get to in our lifetime. You think the Mets are gonna like reel off 20 plus World Series rings by the time I leave this earth? It would be fantastic. I just don't see it happening. So there's that. Who gives a shit? Like, they're so far up on us in terms of that. Okay, try and be logical about it. The Mets didn't come into existence in 1962. So let's just take from 62 on. All right, well, the Yankees have 8 and we have 2. They've been to the playoffs way more times. And okay, so I guess the Yankees win that argument. So it's like, okay, so now you want me to come back to the Yankees fans and say payroll, literally payroll. Oh, you're paying too much. You're buying your championships. I mean, that is the dumbest argument a Mets fan can use, payroll. Well, and if we had a better owner who's willing to spend, maybe we would be right there with the Yankees, but we didn't. That's just the fact of life. That's just how things are right now. So in my mind, it's not that intense a rivalry because they have such an edge on us, an advantage on us in almost all regards of the game. So what the fuck are we? So we're just rooting for them to lose for what? So they can say, oh, haha, you lost in the World Series. They got to the World Series. And yes, the ultimate goal is winning the World Series, but hell, would you rather be a Bills fan or a Lions fan? Bills went to the Super Bowl 4 times, lost 4 times. Lions have never been to a fucking Super Bowl. You see what I'm saying? And yes, I love rooting for the underdog. I will continue to root for the underdog. I'm rooting for the Mets to win at all times. I'm a diehard loyal fan. I will never, ever stop loving and rooting for the Mets. In 1996, Yankees, Braves. Who did I root for? I root for the Braves to lose. They lost. Awesome. 99, Braves, Yankees. I rooted for the Braves to lose. They lost. Awesome. 2003, Yankees, Marlins. I rooted for the Marlins to lose. They didn't. Or maybe they did. I don't even know. I've wiped it from my memory. I completely blacked out that what happened in 2003. 2003 was a bad year. 2009, Yankees, Phillies. I rooted for the Phillies to lose. It didn't. The Yankees were not the Yankees in that instance. The Yankees were just a faceless, identityless team. No logo, no names, no nothing. It was just this team against the Phillies, and I wanted the Phillies to lose. The Phillies went and if the Nationals. So my point was, I was going to make those points, didn't get to make those points because instead KFC derailed the whole thing and started talking about trash talking. And it was like, you want me? And I said, KFC, why don't you just mute the Yankees fans? The episode of Black Mirror, it was a Christmas episode, I think, with John Hamm. And there's a technology where you can mute people in real life. Like their outlines become static and you can't hear what they're saying. And I was like, just do that to Yankees fans because they're just going to chirp and say the same bullshit they've said for years and years and years. Nothing has changed. There's no difference between 27, 28 wins, not 8-2, 9-2. The separation is so much and so great that we're going to need to do some work to make this an actual rivalry in my mind. And he's like, you know how you meet the Yankees, you have them lose. And I was like, but they're still going to say that we suck. We're still the Mets. That's what I'm trying to get at is like, they still have the upper hand by 1 million. So like, whoa, you can if you're a Yankees fan and you get triggered by a Mets fan like KFC, like chirping you, it's like, dude, you're KFC, you're a Mets fan. The Mets haven't done shit. Yeah, they went to a World Series in 2015. I mean, and that's essentially what could have been the difference. There are little things here and there that could have altered this rivalry for the Mets' advantage. The 2000 World Series, we win that against the Yankees. I mean, it doesn't matter how many championships the Yankees have. We beat you head to head in the World Series, and we will always own that. That was huge. If we win that, that's huge. 2015, if we win that World Series, that means that we've won a World Series more recently than the Yankees. The Yankees won in 2009, and now they have not gone back to the World Series since. It's as simple as that. But we didn't win the 2015 World Series, and we didn't win the 2000 World Series. Gentlemen sweeps 4-1 each time. So, it's like there were little things that we could have done, that our team could have done for us to have a little bit more of a you know, a little more weight behind our trash talk, but like, you know, for us to trash talk Yankees fans, I mean, we can do it, but it just feels kind of like empty. It's like Jets fans chirping Pats fans, or like, you know, it just doesn't, there's no comparison right now. We need a lot of work to do. We're in a good spot and we can go on a run if we have the right manager, God damn it. But like, I don't think that we're, and I know I'm in the minority by a long shot. It's like 20%. I'm in the 20%. But put it this way, Mets, Red Sox in 86. Do you think for a goddamn second that Yankees fans were cheering for the fucking Red Sox? No. They were pulling for the Red Sox to lose. And it's like, yeah, the Mets won. Yeah, okay. Well, the Mets won. But more importantly, the Red Sox lost. And I understand the Red Sox Yankees fan rivalry is the most intense rivalry in all of sports. I get that because it's competitive, and the Red Sox have made it competitive thanks to their recent string of success. For the longest time, Yankees fans could yell down any Red Sox fan prior to 2004. Any Red Sox fan didn't stand a fucking chance against Yankees fans. If you want to talk about trash talk. Which, you know, I'm not a good trash talker. There, boom, said it. Yeah, I fucking suck at it. So trash talk, I wasn't trying to go down that route when I called into KFC. What I was trying to say is the pure sense of rivalry, competition. Don't forget about trash talk. We're getting creamed by the Yankees right now. If we're for the Mets, we're getting smoked by the Yankees. Now you look at other rivalries; they're in our division because we play them the most. We see them the most. And yeah, they're not in our vicinity. They're not in New York. And yeah, some of the fan bases are not as big as ours, but we're in New York. Of course, we're gonna have a bigger fan base. And I made a stupid point, and this is where I took a big L. And I said, you know, if the Nationals win this World Series, we're opening the door for Nationals fans to pipe up and own us. Right. Essentially is what I said. Not to that. I said something, you know, I went the trash talk route again, but what I was trying to say is that, okay, the Nats don't have a big fan base. They win a World Series. They're going to get more fans. I mean, that's just how it is. Younger fans baseball fans in that area might see the Nationals win and be like, hell yeah, fuck yeah. Nats for life. So that's one. Two, Nats win the World Series. We are now the last NL East team to win a World Series. Nats potentially this year, Phillies in 08, Marlins in 97, Braves 95, Mets 86. So, you know, and no, of course, I don't come into contact with a lot of Braves fans or a lot of Nationals fans or a lot of Marlins fans. Phillies fans, yes, they're all over the place. And I like when the Phillies, you know, 07, 08, 09 really sucked for Mets fans. If you like have friends that are Phillies fans, because they just reminded you constantly collapse, World Series win, and another World Series appearance. I mean, it's a statistical thing, not so much a trash talk thing. It's just like, what's the point of playing, and what's the point of if we're not winning? And if we have other teams that are winning our division more than us, I don't care if they're two fans, they have the edge. They have the edge. So from a trash talk standpoint, okay, yeah, I guess you'd want the Yankees to win over the Nationals, or you want the Yankees to lose to the Nationals. In my mind, it's a division rival. It's someone that we've competed against over the past 5 or 6 years. And this was another point I made was, hey, this is, you know, over the past 5 or 6 years, I don't know if there's been a bigger rival for us in the National League East than the Nationals. They've given us the most fits, and we've been battling with them the most. 2015, we stuck it to them. But then they've made the playoffs 5 of the last 8 seasons or something like that. And then potentially can win the fucking World Series this year. And that's not going to affect you at all because it's a Washington team that with a fan base that's small. All right, dude. Okay. So be it. I'm unwavering in my position. Yankees versus an NL East team. I'm rooting for the NL East team to lose. And I know that's crazy because then people are like, well, then you're rooting for the Yankees to win. And it's like, no. If Aaron Judge hits a bomb off of Max Scherzer to win the game, I'm not saying, fuck yeah, Aaron Judge. I'm saying, fuck you, Max Scherzer. That's the difference. You can, yeah. I know it's psychotic, but it's just how I reason with life and things. So I definitely took an L. And it just, I wish I had the opportunity to deliver my points a little bit more. I mean, there's no winning that argument. I mean, I lost the argument. I went in knowing I was going to lose the argument, but I was hoping for them not to finish the call by calling me crazy. But that happened. All right, so we'll wrap up Mets talk by talking about SNY released the list of top 20 prospects that the Mets have in their organization. Here are the 4 that we might see in 2020. The number 2 ranked prospect is a shortstop, Andres Jimenez. We signed him in 2015 for $1.2 million. He did not have a great year last year in Double-A, but people are comparing him to Cesar Hernandez from the Phillies. Not really sure how he'll fit into the grand scheme of things in 2020 unless Cano just completely shits the bed and Lowry is just dead like he was this year. Then we'll probably see him come up and I guess play a little second or third. I mean, Rosario is pretty much set at short, and unless Rosario starts to tank, maybe they think about trading Rosario. I don't know. But Mets have some pretty good depth at shortstop because they have another prospect. I think the number 1 prospect is also a shortstop who is estimated to arrive in like a few years. So they're deep at shortstop. Not a problem. Number 6 prospect, the left-handed pitcher, David Peterson. He was drafted in the first round of the 2017 process. His slider's improved. He's got quality command and an above average changeup. And we're in dire need of lefties. So I think he'll be a welcome addition. The 3rd prospect is our number 10 ranked prospect, left-handed pitcher Kayce Smith. He was drafted in the 7th round of the 2018 draft. He's got a tough to pick up delivery, which I'm a big fan of. That was something that I always tried to work on when I was pitching, was just disguising not only the pitch, but the ball. And, the later that a hitter picks up on what it is, the better your chances are as a pitcher. And Smith has an above average slider and could be a number 4, number 5 type starter or good bullpen piece, which is, that's exactly what we need. So we could see him earlier rather than later next season. And then the 4th prospect is our number 17 ranked prospect, a right-handed pitcher, Riley Gilliam. He's drafted in the 5th round of the 2018 draft, and he's a setup man. So, these are all other than Jimenez. I don't know how Jimenez really fits in. Those 3 pitchers, Peterson, Smith, and Gilliam, I'm expecting big things out of them. I think they could be key contributors down the stretch. They're all arms that we need. Calling all arms. Please report to the fucking Mets ASAP. So that's the Mets. Let's talk Giants. I don't want to get too deep into the Week 7 loss with the Cardinals. It was by far the most disappointing loss of the season. I think maybe some people might have pointed to the Bills loss was disappointing because did anyone know the Bills are going to be 6-1 now and looking like they might be a threat to the Patriots? No. At the time, it was like, oh, Josh Allen. We knew they had a top defense, but we didn't think that their offense would be able to pull together, that our defense would look that bad. And our defense looked bad in this game. I don't know how you look so good against the Patriots, and maybe that's just the Patriot way. The offense lulls you into thinking that you have the upper hand, and then they pick you apart. Death by 1,000 cuts. It's not just a Taylor Swift song. They did it to the Jets on Monday night. So hard to get a read on where the Giants defense is right now. They come out super flat in the first half. You give up, 14, 17 points right off the bat. We're in a deep hole. And so, of course, Shermer panics to a certain degree and doesn't hand the ball to Barkley when he should. He hands it to Barkley on predictable downs where the defense knows you're going to hand it off to Barkley, and then doesn't hand it off to him when it would serve you right. The keys of the game going into it were contain Kyler Murray, protect the ball, and run the ball. We didn't run the ball. 18 carries for 60 some odd yards for Barkley. He had a big run called back because of a Hernandez holding call, which the holding penalties were just brutal. Killed a couple drives that could have gotten us points. Protect the ball. Daniel Jones didn't do it. He had the one pick, which was pretty ugly, throwing into double coverage to Golden Tate. And then he had a couple others that almost could have been picked again. Reminiscent of Eli early in his career. Eli, first half of his career, was willing to make some dangerous throws that had bigger upsides. And I think Daniel Jones is in that mode right now where he's like, I'm willing to take the chance. And he's gotten burned sometimes, and sometimes it comes out, like the Rhett Ellison throw. I don't know that Eli Manning makes that throw to Rhett Ellison. He had a guy tailing him and safety over the top, and you really had to make a perfect throw for that to work, and Daniel made a perfect throw. Of course, I would love to have him just to look off of Ellison to the left, and he had, I think, Barkley or something down the seam. He had a guy wide open down the seam on the left and with no safety over the top and no one covering him. And it's like, I would love for him to check off of that and see that. But the fact that he can make that kind of throw is what we love about him. So, but it's not the interceptions that are killing us right now for the most part. The one interception led to points because it was in Giants territory, and that sucks. But it's the fumbles. Just protect the ball, dude, especially on the front side. And I don't, people say, oh, it was a front side hit from Chandler Jones where he stripped it and caused a fumble. And then he should be able to see that. And it's like, obviously you have not played football, my friend, because if you have, even though your body's facing that way, your head's not facing that way. So you need to have a tremendous peripheral vision to see a guy coming, especially a guy like Chandler Jones, who's fast as fuck and hits like a ton of bricks. So it's just the fumbles, dude. Hold on to the ball. If you're going to take a sack, just take the sack and don't lose the ball. And, he fumbled away two. He fumbled 3 times, lost 2. And each time it hurt us. So, where does the defense stand now? Looks decent against the Pats. And then, kind of came out on a flat start in the first half. And then we're put in really tough positions, especially, that last field goal, that's not on them. The fact that they were able to just hold it to a field goal is amazing, and then the special teams, getting a blocked punt for a touchdown, amazing. And then that shift that they had that caused a false start and kicked the Cardinals out of field goal range was a genius. But then you had Rosas miss the field goal. It's like Rosas hits that field goal. We're tied, possibly going overtime. And that last drive at the end of the first half, that's an opportunity to get points. Evan Engram drops a fucking pass down the right sideline. And I've spoken very highly of Evan Engram, and I said he's advanced, he's evolved, he's better now. And then he felt like he kind of regressed. They all regressed to 2017. Rosas missing field goals, Engram dropping balls. So, Engram catches the ball, that's a field goal. Then we're up 27-24. And who knows, we get the win. And it's an ugly win, but it's a win. It's the little things. I cannot believe they allowed Chase Edmonds to run for what they did. 3 20-plus yard touchdowns is insane to me. And you look at and I try to look at the tape, I guess you'd say, and we have Jabril Peppers lining up as a linebacker next to Alec Ogletree. And they're getting caught up in the wash, folks. And I know that Ogletree got another top grade. He was the top graded defensive player for the Giants again. When you're watching it live, you don't think that. But then you have these experts telling you, oh, Ogletree's graded so highly. And it's like, but how? he didn't make any impact plays in my mind. But I guess that's what's around him that's, causing that for me to think that, because on the one touchdown run, Jabril Peppers just gets caught behind Olsen Pierre getting blown out of the water. I mean, Olsen Pierre is getting blocked like 4 yards down the field on what is essentially like a draw play. And Jabril Peppers gets stuck behind him. And maybe that's a case of Jabril Peppers not being used to playing that far up to the line or in a linebacker position. But they have got to stop that. Jabril Peppers in the linebacker position, no thanks. That's not working, and that's essentially why they signed Dayon Buchanan from the Bucks, because he played for Betcher in Arizona, and he had his best years in Arizona, and he is slightly undersized for a linebacker, 6'1", 220, but he's used to playing in the linebacker position, whereas Peppers is not. Peppers is a safety. Let Peppers be a fucking ball hawk, dude. Let him roam the field and be a ball hawk and pick off balls. That's what he should be doing. He's not a linebacker. He's not Landon Collins. Maybe you can get away with that shit with Landon Collins in the linebacker position. You can't do it with Jabril Peppers. So, it might take a while for Dayon to get up to speed, but as soon as he is, I think that's another great signing. But it's still like the most disappointing loss of the season, because now we're 2-5. We win that. We're 3-4. We're tied with the Eagles. We're 1 game behind the Cowboys. Instead, we're 2-5. We're now 2 games behind the Cowboys, who beat the piss out of the Eagles. And it's going to be, we now have like a 7% chance of making the playoffs. We're 7-point underdogs against the Lions in Detroit. So, I mean, the season's just about over. That was my last line on the blog I wrote about this game, is like my finger is hovering over the console button, because it's like, that was a must-win game. You got to win all the division games, and you got to win all the conference games. That's the simplest way to put it. We have a 7% chance to make the playoffs. For us to make the playoffs now, at 2-5, we have to go at least 9-7. So we can there's only 2 more losses on the schedule, which, this game in Detroit, Kerryon Johnson's not playing, so maybe they don't have a run game, and maybe we can, maybe we can put 5 DBs, 6 DBs out there and just play a zone and have Stafford toss picks all game. That's the ideal world I'm living in. But honestly, whoever running back they put back there is going to run for fucking 160 yards, because we're going to line up Jabril Peppers as a linebacker again, thinking that he can like shed blocks and make linebacker plays when he's a fucking safety. And this no-name running back, just like Chase Edmonds, is going to run for like 156 yards and 3 touchdowns. You got to learn your lesson. Why is David Mayo not playing? I talked up David Mayo so much. He's like, he did phenomenally against the Patriots. He actually did well against the Vikings, despite, all the lack of support they had around him. And he like barely saw the field against the freaking Cardinals. And you have Jabril Peppers playing. See, I just, because they had Michael Thomas playing deep, Buffet deep, Peppers up by the line. I don't know about that. I don't like that configuration. So they got to figure it out. I don't know that Dayon's probably not going to be ready for the Lions game. So, I mean, if they can only afford 2 more losses, in an ideal world, this is how I had it, them making the playoffs. In an ideal world, somehow we pull off the win in Detroit, just because Detroit is cursed. I mean, that's the only, I know you want me to give like some kind of like insider stat thing. No, they're cursed. I mean, they should have beat the Green Bay. They didn't. They almost beat the Chiefs. Tied the Cards, beat the Chargers, beat the Eagles in Philly, but just can't. They just have little things that just don't go their way. And maybe this is another case of it. So win in Detroit, win at home against the Cowboys. I mean, and this is ideally now. I don't say this is going to happen, but ideally we win against the Cowboys. We've now lost our last 5 against Dallas, but hell, we almost beat them last year. And if it wasn't for that stupid 1 knee rule, we would have won. 1 knee equals 2 feet. Come on, guy. How is that a rule? How is that a rule, dude? 1 knee is not 2 feet. 1 knee is 1 knee. 1 knee is 1 foot. I hate that rule. And I know John Madden, I used to laugh when John Madden used to say that rule. 1 knee, 2 feet. And then it beat us. And I was like, fuck 1 knee, 2 feet. Good God. So we had to beat the Cowboys. Hopefully they have flashbacks to when they played the Jets in MetLife. And they just like, whoa, what's happening? And then we're at Jets, quote unquote. I got to think that's a win. I can, and I know they beat the Cowboys, but then they get blown out of the friggin' sky by the Patriots, out of our solar system. Sam Darnold is seeing ghosts. How do we make that happen? We've won 5 of our last 6 meetings against the Jets. We should have won in 2015. Our defense fucking sucked that year. Brandon Marshall caught the game-tying touchdown over Prince Amukamara, sends it in overtime. Jets hit their field goal in the opening drive. We get to respond, and Josh Brown, the domestic abuser, Pro Bowl domestic abuser, misses his field goal. So that should have been a win. So we should have won the last 6. And I got a good feeling about this one. Just confuse the shit out of Sam Darnold. It'll be close again. It'll be close. But then the Jets are going to Jets, I hope. Okay. So that means we're 3-0 going to the bye. I think we win at the Bears because Mitch Trubisky is awful. That offense is awful. Their defense is top notch, obviously. But I don't think that their defense is on the same level as the Vikings or the Patriots or the Bills. Words that I will die by. Those words will be on my tombstone probably, but we've won 4 of our last 5 against Chicago. And I got a good feeling that they feel like they're on the precipice of falling apart, and their offense is not gonna fix itself anytime soon. And we'll be fresh off a bye. And I know it's in Chicago, but we're fresh off a bye. Not that extra time helps us. I mean, we had 10 days to prepare for the fucking Cardinals and we couldn't win. Unreal. We're going to lose against the Packers. I know that. We've lost our last 2. The last loss was in the wild card game. People forget. I know the final score was 38-13. People forget. We were up 6-0. We were down 7-6 right before the half, and they threw that stupid Hail Mary and completed it. It was like the complete opposite of the previous playoff game where we hit the Hail Mary to end the half. OBJ was targeted 11 times in that game and caught 4 for 28 yards. Gross. So we're going to lose that one for sure. I don't see any way we win it unless Rodgers gets hurt. At the Eagles, I think we lose this one. We have never been good in Philly. We're 1-6 against the Eagles in Philadelphia since 2012 and 3-11 in our last 14. So again, it'll probably be a close game, and that Jake Elliott motherfucker will hit another ridiculous field goal to win the game. La-da-da-da-da. So those are our 2 losses. We'll win against the Dolphins. We'll win at Washington. And then if the playoffs are on the line at home against the Eagles, think back to 2002 when we won 10-7. I think we're going to do that again in my ideal fantasy world where we make the playoffs. At home, we'll win. And if we're eliminated from the playoffs, we'll lose this game for sure. But if we're in the hunt and this is the playoffs, people criticize Giants fans because, and the stands were empty against the Arizona. I get it. But with the playoffs on the line, we're 8-7. The Eagles are 8-7. Giants, I'm going to call it Giants Stadium. Fuck MetLife. Giants Stadium will be packed to the gills. It'll be loud, and that crowd will be the difference, and we'll win that game and go to the playoffs. In my fantasy world, that means if we're going 9-7, that means we need Dallas and Philly to go 8-8 or worse. Essentially, because I don't think we're going to win a tiebreaker against Dallas or Philadelphia, because I think they might have the edge. Looking at their schedule, they might have the edge in terms of they'll win the tiebreaker on the conference record, because I think we might tie on the division record. So that means the Cowboys would have to go 4-5 down the stretch. We probably won't win the tiebreaker. They're probably going to go 4-2 in the division. They're currently 3-2 in the conference. So I have the Cowboys in my ideal fantasy world. I have them losing to the Giants in MetLife, losing to the Vikings at home, which that is very possible. They lost big to the Packers at home. They lost by 2 to the Saints in New Orleans. I think against the top echelon teams like the Vikings, who are on a hot streak ever since they played the Giants, they lose that game. I think they lose in week 12 against the Patriots. I think they win against the Bears in Chicago. I think they lose at home to the Rams. And I think the 3 games that are going to be on the fence about, so right now those are 4 losses. We just need one more loss of these 3 games. Week 11 against the Lions, week 13 against the Bills, week 16 against the Eagles, okay? We just need one of those to lose. And then the doors open. We have our opportunity. Lions in Detroit, I could see them winning that. Bills at home. Now, if it was in Buffalo, I'd be like, that's a loss. But if it's at home against Buffalo, that could be a win. And then playing in Philadelphia against the Eagles, who knows where the Eagles are at that point? I mean, they're kind of in a state of disarray right now. They're people are down in the dumps. You have Eagles fans crying in bars while wearing a ridiculous hat. I don't know if you saw that video, but that video is amazing. The Eagles fan starts crying. He's wearing a hat with an eagle on it that has the wings. And the reporter's like, so can you you're crying right now. Like just saying you're crying, like just stating the obvious. And the guy's like, yeah, man. And then she's like, well, can you just flap your wings for me? And then he presses a button on his hat and the fucking wings go. It was the saddest thing I've ever seen. Oh, I sent it to all my Eagles fan friends. I was like, this is your fan base right now. Get a grip. I mean, Giants fans are like, we're not suicidal, but like, we're not exactly on top of the world. I mean, we lost the freaking Cardinals. So, and then week 17, they'll win against the Cowboys will win against the Redskins at home. So the 3 games that we're looking at that are up in the air that we need one of those to lose: at Detroit, home against the Bills, at Philly. And I have a feeling it'll be home against the Bills they'll lose. Although that doesn't really help us with the conference record. So if, realistically, it's probably going to be the Bills, but we're hoping that they lose to the Lions or the Eagles. Then Philly needs to go 8-8 or worse, which means they have to go 5-4 down the stretch. They're currently 1-1 in the division. Most likely we'll go 3-3 or 4-2. And then they're currently 2-4 in the conference. So I have them losing to the Bills in Buffalo. I mean, maybe this was the low point for them, getting smoked in Dallas, and maybe this is the low point and they turn things around. But in Buffalo against the Bills, I think the Bills are on have got their mojo working. So I think Philly loses that one. I think they win at home against the Bears because the Bears are in a spiral. I think they lose at home to the Pats. They lose at home to the Seahawks. And then they win against the Dolphins in Miami in week 13. Week 15, I think they win in DC. I think they win at home against the Cowboys. And then I think they lose that season finale to us. So then it really comes down to the 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 losses, right? So we need the Eagles to lose. We need to sweep the Eagles, which is a tall order, because that week 14 game, if they lose that, then that means they go 4-5, or they go. I guess they don't have to lose. We don't have to sweep the Eagles, but we do need to take one or 2, and I believe it will be that season finale. So, I mean, it's not that far fetched. We're not asking for the Patriots to go winless down the stretch. I mean, we're asking for it's the Eagles are going to be right on par with what they're currently doing. Same for the Cowboys. It's just all on us. We got to win games. That's it. Can only lose 2 more games down the stretch. Just win, baby. That's all. We got to take care of business. And, I put a lot of this on the coaching, and I know the coaches are going to put a lot of it on the players not executing their schemes, but it's like, dude, get better schemes. You need to coach to your players' strengths. You need to cover their weaknesses. And right now, I don't think the coaches are doing a great job of that. I know players need to execute. I get it. But like at some point, you got to take a look at the scheme and be like, this isn't working with the players we have. What can we do to make the most of the players that we have in the roster and the personnel? So that's this week's show. Clocked in at a cool 4 hours. No big deal. Give me a shout on anything, literally Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. It's screen name's Real Cinch, or just search Neal Lynch. You'll probably find me. I have a ridiculous avatar. Call the hotline 862-BIT-1986. And let me know what's up. What's on your mind? Do you think I'm ridiculously crazy for thinking that a Yanks-Nats World Series should have me rooting for the Nationals? I don't know. But that's all we have for this week, and I'll see you next week. Adios, muchachos.